That's right, Phil's back.
Oh no.
Hello.
Intro song.
Welcome to Dial H For Heroclix, episode 8. I'm your host, Hunter Smith. With me today, Austin.
Hey.
Drew.
Yo.
Special guest, Phil Young.
Boys are back in town.
Phil's been on before. He's a good friend, a local judge at the Game Preserve in Greenwood, and now an employee there as well.
Oh no.
How was your Gen Con, Phil?
It was great. It was different playing in a organized WizKid event, but it was fantastic. I had a couple con exclusives and had a lot of fun.
Organized WizKid event.
Yeah, the air quotes.
Was that your first? That wasn't your first Gen Con, but was it your first time playing Clix at Gen Con?
Yeah, it was my first time. The only other time I played Heroclix was back when it was Mage Night at a comic book convention years ago, back in like 2000. So a lot different.
Well, so you know Mage Knight well then, or at least to
No,
a point.
I demoed it essentially.
Oh.
So
Today we're going to be discussing spoilers, lots of Avengers versus XMen event news.
Woohoo!
Team building tips will be the main topic today. And then we'll go over comics, specifically the X-Men books right now, which there's a million, and video games. And we'll also announce the winner of the Best Build contest. It might be a long cast today, but we have lots to talk about. Let's get into the news first. The biggest news, like I said, is the Avengers versus X-Men. We've got, we had a little teaser to talk about last week, but this week we have pretty much all the info that we're going to need to know. It's going to be a 4-month-long event. The starter sets that we talked about last week, which were, is it $40? $40 a piece. You pick Avengers or X-Men. You get 6 Switch Clicks. You do get the dice and the tokens that we saw at Gen Con. And the last month participation prize will be a team base specific to the starter set that you picked. So if you got Avengers, you get Avengers. If you got X-Men, you get X-Men. So that's good news for everybody. I'm sure there are a lot of people who want an Avengers team base. And I guess now we'll have 3 X-Men team bases, but, what the heck. And also in those packs, besides the dice tokens and figs, there's going to be a rule book, a PAC, and 2 maps. So that's pretty good.
It's a good starter set.
It's a little pricey, but at least you're getting a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean...
what does everybody think about that news overall? I mean, are you excited? Or?
The LE figures, have you not seen who they announced as the LEs?
I know there's a Cable, which everybody's happy
There's
about.
a Black Panther. I mean, we haven't seen, there's modern Black Panthers. Well, then no.
Not
Cap
anymore.
was the last one.
Not anymore.
Captain America.
Yeah,
Cap
was
just
the last
cycled
one.
out. So
I'm excited about that.
and there's no modern Cable right now either.
And then the gang or the winning team award is freaking Phoenix Buster Iron Man. I mean, there's so many cool figures they went with for this.
If you guys want to see all of the starter sets and all this information, go to heroclix.com. At the top, go to at the top, go to downloads, and then go to the retail assets page, and then you will see all the PDFs. If you want to actually look, and they have some of the pictures of the LEs that they're giving out and everything. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting a DC event, but I do like that it's 4 months instead of 6.
Yeah, because
I feel like the events drag on a little bit.
That's
sometimes.
what I was going to say. By month 5 or 6, I'm kind of burned out. Even on Fear itself, I love the idea, but about right now, I'm starting to get tired of it. And No Man's Land definitely drug on by the end of it.
No Man's Land was
Yeah.
a trick.
It was a journey.
We also got a lot of Iron Man news for the Invincible Iron Man set that's coming
Woo-hoo!
out. It will be a full set with no super boosters. We already knew that. But it will be 6 chases. And the rings
Thematic chases.
Yeah, thematic Iron... no word yet on exactly what they are.
Roller skates.
The rings will randomly be inserted into the boosters. And there are a total of 9.
9 from the boosters and 1
And
from
then
the OP
1
kit.
from the OP kit. And the resource for the rings is also in the OP kit. And I was kind of disappointed that they're only giving you 3 of the resource thing in each OP kit. So really it's 2 to give out to your players. The OP kit will have 3 different figures, though. That's good.
Yeah, I was going to say, all the OP kits they have that are lined up are all 3 of 3, which is...
And there will be 3 objects as well.
Yeah.
They also spoiled the Iron Man. Let me see if I can pull him up here. And not only did they spoil him, but I also noticed
They showed
if you look at his card, that it says 001A.
the Prime is shown up above, but they didn't spoil what it is
It's
yet.
a Prime. I was hoping it would be like the Spidey, the 001A
Yeah,
DC,
no, that's
like
what
maybe we would get
yeah.
3 suits.
That would be great.
It does have the advanced targeting, which they had been telling us was coming. This one, whenever he shoots, he ignores hindering and blocking terrain on line of fire, which is crazy.
It's whenever he draws line of fire, he ignores, but the destruction of terrain only happens on attacks. So the destroys blocking actually would only happen when he shoots.
Right.
Yeah. So
Not
it's
on
any
movement.
line of fire. Perplex would actually look through hindering on him or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His trait, if you play him at 300, gives him movement attack. He's got a lot of precision strike. And a pretty Iron Man-y looking dial.
Yeah.
Shield TA. And
Plexes and outwits.
yeah, it's pretty
They're
standard.
trying to cram like everything on his dial, but what I like about him most, like, he's not like amazing for his points, but those keywords are so buildable around it isn't even funny.
They're doing a better job with keywords finally. It sucks that they did so crappy on them in Teen Titans, but at least now with X-Men, all the keywords are really good. And so far, this set's looking pretty good on keywords too. There was another announcement. The Legion of Superheroes set will be coming out. No word yet on a date or anything, but it will be the
February.
next main DC set. I mean, an official.
Oh yeah, it's February 2014 is what they're looking at for it. WizKids, it'll probably be March 2014.
It's Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, so
Yep.
there will also be a sub-theme. Legion of Doom is going to be the starter set, which is awesome.
Yes.
Because Legion of Superheroes is not a super popular
Yeah.
book or group, but I think everybody is pretty excited about Legion of Doom because there's no modern Grodd,
Grundy.
no modern Grundy. Well, I don't know if they'll put Grundy in there or not, but they might.
The Grundy's on the list.
Sweet.
know,
Giganta.
I will say the book might not be the most popular since it gets canceled all the time, but there's a reason why they always bring it back. So there's a sub theme in Superman, which was great, and then I think they can push through with this one. And I do think the villain sub theme is a home run. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
I was gonna say, from what I've noticed on like forums and stuff, like fans of Legion of Superhero are very vocal and they love it,
Yeah.
but the books never quite meet their expectations, which seems to be a recurring theme with it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It'll be interesting to see what they put in the set, definitely.
Black Manta is going to be in there. We're
Yes!
super excited about Black Manta.
I'm so excited for that.
So yeah, I'm more interested in seeing what other sub themes they throw in there, and hopefully it's not a super booster set. Hopefully it's a straight. Hopefully they give up on the super booster
I
thing.
think they said it was 10 boosters per brick, so it'll be
Good.
a non-super booster.
Sweet.
I'm getting tired of super boosters, honestly.
We had another
Same.
Batman 66 spoiler, which was Shame. He actually looks pretty cool.
I like him.
Yeah, you would.
He's a cowboy. His death trap, he can use the ability, and the bonus is equal to the number of characters on the map. That's pretty good.
Oh.
His movement ability gives him running shot. When he does, until his next turn, he can improve movement through blocking. And he gets invul, and he gets +1 damage. But at the end of the turn, you have to roll a d6. If you get a 1 to 3, you have to deal him 1 unavoidable. And he has a special attack power with sharpshooter. When he resolves a ranged combat action, place a BAM token on his card. Give him a free action to remove a BAM token and then make a close combat attack. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's got that special running shot and then a lot of running shot, or 2 more clicks of standard running shot and then 2 more clicks of sidestep. So he's got plenty of move and attack. And he looks pretty.
Only 65.
He's only
points.
65. I like him. 6 range with
He's fun.
sharpshooter.
I know. And
I
then,
like-
what, first click, like, you have freaking a 10 attack, 3 damage if you use his running shot with it. I mean, like, he's a fun
Yeah, he
piece.
drops onto willpower RCE, so he's
I like
fun.
him. Sculpt looks good. All the sculpts look
Running
cool.
with a bunch of different tanks. And yeah, he's got warrior, so he works with all the tank bonuses.
Most of them are off soldier.
I think
But
all
one
the
of them,
tanks warrior.
one of them is one of the bonuses on one of the I think the military. You can have soldier or warrior, and then the other bonus is from the Sergeant Rock
Yeah.
bonus or commando bonus. We also got a Star Trek spoiler, but this one is way cooler than the rest, in my opinion, because
That's
it is
amazing.
it's a colossal.
Yeah,
It
you
is
know who the Borg are, Hunter.
Tactical Cube 138.
Yep.
It can be played at 800, 600, or 300 with the Borg TA, colossal size, sharpshooter, 2 bolts, 9 range. His trait gives him multi-attack, but one of the actions it takes as a free action must be an attack that targets a ship marked with an assimilation token, which, like we said, it's not going to be hard to get those tokens on these ships with all the cool combos that they've put in the set. He has hypersonic with a 12 movement, 13 attack, and a 20 invincible with 7 damage. He doesn't... I guess he has 22 clicks of life, which is about standard for a Colossal at 800, but he can be outwitted. That's one thing.
The one thing I'd like to point out, and like what I said when this first got posted, I love his first click because it's like, oh, Invincible, I'm just going to peg him for 2. He actually drops into a much better second click if you peg him for 2 to get half to 1.
Even if you hit him, even if he takes 2, he goes on to Pulse Wave with.
Oh yeah,
Imperv. I mean, he's got a smattering of Imperv and Outwit, Pulse Wave, Running Shot, lots of movement attack. He looks awesome. He has a special attack power later down his dial that whenever he hits, he does penetrating. So basically, both of your multi attacks are going to be doing penetrating.
And then they're getting assimilation tokens every time you do. So
he's going to be pretty cool.
Oh wait, you know what? He can use multi attack, but if he does one must be a free action that targets a ship with an assimilation. Does that mean if the first attack hits, they get a token and then you hit?
I would think, yeah, because let's read when a ship using this TA hits an opposing ship, place 1 assimilation token.
It's not after action.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not after. So
as long as you hit with the first attack, you get a second attack against the same target.
It looks pretty cool.
Do you think this will be the only Colossus?
I think it's the only Colossal because they showed it in the case at Gen Con like it was a big special thing.
I don't have a clue. I'm not the one to ask.
Because Deep Space Nine would be another great one.
Oh my god!
I think that's the reward. They're doing that as a reward for the attack wing thing.
Yeah.
They also announced that they're going to amend the replacement policy because there's been so many problems with the Wolverine and the XMen boosters.
No,
really?
They're now going to cover the pieces in the super boosters and primes and chases. We've heard tons of stories here locally of people getting crappy bricks and people getting really, really good bricks that they shouldn't have gotten. Drew just had one yesterday.
I got a Magneto. The normal Magneto, not the Prime Magneto, the normal Magneto. And he wasn't a switch click. And I broke him because I thought he was a switch click.
What was the other thing that was magical in your booster?
I got a Chase and a Prime.
No, you got an Iceman.
Oh yeah, I got an Iceman.
So he got one of the Iceman that comes from a team base in his regular booster pack. And Harry, who's another local player, had bought the other brick that goes with Drew's brick, and he didn't get any primes or chases.
All he got was one SR.
He got an abysmal brick. It's the worst I've ever seen.
So Drew got his prime and chase in his brick.
I feel bad. I mean, Harry's probably going to be listening to this because he does. And I would just like to say, Harry, remember Denny's.
I've heard of
Ricky's was perfect.
Yeah,
Ricky's.
I mean, I've heard of people getting ones that don't have any issues, but for the most part, everybody has something at least small, like a card missing, or they have extra cards that aren't supposed to be in there, or something.
Yeah, the big issue I've seen the most of actually is with chases, particularly, is with the Colossus Prime or the Colossus Chase. Out of the 3 of them I've seen pulled, mine had no arm, and another guy I knew pulled had no arm too, and then the third one I've seen came out perfect. Which is crazy that a chase has a consistent error like that. It's just...
I personally feel like they thought about delaying it further, heard the outcry, and I think they might have just rushed it, unfortunately.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about, the problems we're seeing are consistent. So Iceman in a brick, I've seen that problem reported on Realms before too. So I'm wondering if it's when they're rushed, they put the wrong mold in or whatever, and it just ended up putting an Iceman in every freaking 10th brick or whatever.
Of quality control.
I'm thinking there was a gas leak in the little Chinese factory where the kids were making these. And
the poor derpy face painter guy.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh.
That's about sums up the main news and spoilers that they've given us this week. Let's move on to our main topic, which is going to be team building. Now, this is a topic that you could go on and on about forever.
How many zombies can I fit on the board?
And it's also kind of a personal choice, preference type thing too. But we'll give some generic tips for team building, and then we can each kind of say like how we personally usually go about it. I would say I'll start off by giving what I wrote out as the kind of different schools of thought whenever that people take on team building.
Team bases are team building. You just pick one and go.
There's your team.
The one I would call like the classic is the balanced team of primary attacker, who is usually half of your. We're talking 300, let's say, because that's the standard meta. Primary attacker, who should be about half of your points. This is about around 150. A secondary attacker, who is about a third of your point value, so about 100, and then a support piece, which is about 50 points. That's like the go-to balance, what I call classic.
Yeah.
A good example of that is the Gen Con team that won last year of Morgan Le Fay, who's 131 or 138, something like that. The Wasp, who is about 77 points, which is about 1/3 of the total, and then Scarlet Witch and the Infinity Gauntlet being the two support pieces. That was a perfect example of a classic balanced team. A focused team. I didn't really know what to call this strategy, but a lot of people do this. It's not really a one-man army per se, but it is a primary piece that you're spending a little more than half of your points on, so probably like maybe a 200-point piece that has maybe power cosmic or is just an all-around just beast. Like, I'm trying to think of a good
Black
example.
Adam?
Black Adam at 200 or something like that.
Because he's got a lot of good options.
And then you spend the rest of your points on support with 2 or 3 small support pieces. Yeah, an example of that, actually, now I think about it, would be George's team last year of Black Adam with the Infinity Gauntlet and Harry Leland being his 2 support pieces.
Well, I was going to say, like, that I'd almost say that's a tentpole team, though. Because
tentpole would be a good name for it, yeah.
Because it's one primary piece that you put a lot of weight into, and if it gets nailed hard, it gets
If you think about it, the Ghost Rider is kind of that kind of thing, too. By the time that you pay for him and the Heroes for Hire and the belt, he's over 150.
Yeah.
He's about 160. And then you're throwing 2 Scarlet Witches or something on there.
Yeah. That really can't carry their own.
There's the Swarm team, which is typically like one piece that gives the other ones like some kind of minion bonus. The piece is usually like 80-ish points, and the rest of them are like 30 and 40 points. A prime example of this in the meta right now would be GCPD. Would be Lieutenant Gordon, who's like 70 points, 68 points, and then the 2 cruisers that are like 60 points, and the 2 officers are like 30, or however you play it. That's an example of a Swarm team. And with Book of Skulls now, Swarm teams are going to be a lot more legit. Even just tiny little like minion teams that you used to really not take seriously with the Book of the Skull, and only paying 3 points a hammer, especially when we get to those 8 hammers where you can get power cosmic on all of them.
You can hold 2 hammers.
All that stuff. It's going to be pretty nuts. So
that zombie's going to be dual wielding.
Swarm was a team build that was kind of fading a little bit, but now with Book of Skull, I feel like it's going to make a slow comeback. One Man Army is just that. It is a one power piece. It's a Justice League 300, Galactus at 300, Imperial Guard now at 300. We've been talking. I don't know how much longer that everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, but how much longer it's going to take for everybody to realize how stupidly good the Imperial Guard is at 300. But right now, like it's the best single piece, and not enough people are talking about it. But I guess it'll go out and get it now before it's $50. Is all I'm going to say. But no matter what you choose, the most important aspect of these teams is synergy
and to have fun.
Well, we're talking
competitively.
Yeah.
You either want your support pieces to cover your main piece's weaknesses, or I feel like nowadays it's almost, with Alpha Strike being so prevalent, it's actually people are using their support pieces to strengthen their strengths and make it just one focused with Ghost Rider, the belt and the Heroes for Hire, and the Perplexes and the props from Scarlet Witch and the Barrier. Like, they're putting all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
But it's a good basket.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to bring up with tentpole teams, it's very vital when you build a team like that your support is negating the luck factor. That's why you have so many probs. Because if you go in for that one big alpha strike and you miss it, game over. Like, it's almost over right then. For a lot of teams that are built like that. Like, if you run that Black Adam and you double power action right up there to smack somebody, and you miss that swing,
over.
They're just going to murder you next turn. And a lot of times that costs you the game. So you have to build a lot of prob, a lot of perp, try to reduce the luck in the rolls.
By synergy, they don't even have to be pieces that specifically, like I play Dark Knight Rises Gordon and the Marquee Batman, Batman specifically says when you play Lieutenant Gordon, he gets this, and you get this. It doesn't even have to be as specific as that. It can just be a good balance of my primary guy doesn't have move and attack, but he can be carried, so I'm going to put a cheap taxi on there to move him around. It can be as simple as that. You need to have balance of taxi. You need to have outwit at some point, and prop control, or preferably prop control, and at least one guy who can do decent range and one guy who can do decent attack, one or the other. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because if you play all ranged and they get to move in on you, especially if they get map, or you're playing against a stealth team and you don't have anti-stealth, you're gonna be in some trouble. So you want to have a decent mix of ranged and combat, and you want to have at least, I would say, half of your pieces have willpower or indom these days, because you're going to be at a big disadvantage. That's one disadvantage that you don't really realize during the game, but towards the end of the game, you realize how many pushing clicks you had to take that they didn't have to take.
Yep.
And you also need to make sure that at least one person on your team has a way to get through dampeners. Either Psychic Blast or Exploit or Outwit. You need some way to get through dampeners, because, like, I know personally, if I'm, especially in a sealed environment, if I'm go up and I have 3 pieces that have invul, I'm going to take out the one guy they have that has Outwit every time, just at the start. I'm going to bust that Outwit guy off of it, and then now they have to deal with that, and it's pretty much a game changer.
I was going to say, I've won so many matches over that, where, like, my primary targets are the characters that have their exploit, that have the 3 attacks. I talked about it at Gen Con last week in that Street Fighter tournament. I had a character with invul, picked off all his characters that had 3 or had any kind of exploit, and it was game over pretty much for him. All he could do is run from me, because he can't hurt me unless he rolls crits. And so the game's in my court right then.
And you need to preferably have your primary or secondary attacker needs to have some form of move and attack.
I'd warrant to say almost any piece nowadays.
These days they throw out running shot and charge like candy, and they throw out indom like candy, so it's not as hard to do these days as it used to be.
Especially with the Book of the Skull.
A good example of this, what I mean by a balanced synergetic team, is, again, the Morgan Le Fay and the Wasp and the Scarlet Witch team, where Wasp can be carried by Morgan Le Fay without taking any negatives. Morgan has the special trait that gives a +2 perplex on either Wasp or Scarlet Witch, whoever needs it.
So she could turn anyone into a secondary attacker.
And then Morgan is a wild card, and you're getting the Mystics from Scarlet Witch. Like, it's just a good synergetic team. That's what you need. Personally, I would say if you're a new player, I would start by going with the balanced formula. I feel like too many new people that we've had specifically at the dugout, especially Aaron, like your brother Aaron, like, he always wants to play tent poles. He always wants to play a Hulk and like one support piece, and then he gets stomped and he's like, I hate this game. Like, then with the times that he has me build him a team and I build him a balanced team and he kills everybody, I'm like, this is why you need actions. You're getting out action too fast.
Yeah, you can't
need
really
synergy.
You can't throw all 300 of yours in a freaking World Breaker and like a small perplex piece. That's not enough to carry a team. Usually.
Like I said, the state of the meta today, I feel like it's going more towards the focused approach of the primary piece around 150, say Ghost Rider, and then the support pieces that are making your strength the best that it can possibly be, and getting that, and that's largely due to Alpha Strike being so prevalent right now.
It's your support pieces are also trying to slow down your opponent's Alpha Strike and keep them from getting.
You've got the Heroes for Hire and the belt that's getting you the most out of Ghost Rider, but then you have the barrier that's actually covering his weakness, which is when you're prep timing, you're susceptible twice, really, because you got the 2 tokens and you're gonna have to clear unless you're Heroes for Hire, but. At least the Scarlet Witches are covering his weakness, for long enough for him to win the match, pretty much. I don't like one-man armies myself. I like to play... These days, I don't think it's this hard to do this either. I like to play, like, at least one... My formula is usually, I like 1.5 pieces per 100 points of the build total. So if we're playing at 400, I like to play 6 pieces at least. I would say a good rule of thumb, though, especially if you're a new player, is at least play no less than 1 piece per 100 points. If it's a 300-point match, play at least 3 characters. Because like we were just talking about, the more characters you have, it's just such an advantage. You have more clicks of life to deal with. Mm-hmm. You have more targets to deal with. And more importantly, in my mind, when I play, you have more pieces to control the board. You have more distractions.
Yeah.
You have more angles that you're kind of setting up that the other opponent's not really thinking about. Like, you just have so many options.
It's easier to overwhelm your opponent, too, like, just to run them.
It's easy to tie up their ranged guy for long enough. It's easy to tie up their heavy hitter so that he doesn't hit your primary guy. He has to waste time on Toad or whoever.
Well, that's like what I've talked about when I bring up zombies. The reason I enjoy that team so much is you have so many figures that even experienced players are like, well, what's he going to do? Okay, all of a sudden he's tying me up with this one. This one's got 2 exploit, and this one's got this, and he misses a shape change. It's just fun. And I like I love positioning in the game. And that's the one thing I feel like a lot of people don't really think about when they're playing, is how important it is to have your pieces in specific locations. Even 1 square off can make a world of difference.
No matter what team building choice that you go with, you need to have a clear thought of your game plan in your head going into that night of playing. Like, you need to know what your team strengths are and what your goal is, and then during the game change it accordingly. One thing that I feel like not enough people do, and I think I mainly learned this by playing chess, is most people worry so much about what their plan is that they don't see what their opponent is wanting to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they get hit by stuff that they could have easily seen coming. Like, if your opponent moves up his guys and he has somebody with running shot with a 7 movement and pulse wave with 5 range, that means he's going to move 4 and then pulse wave for 3. If he positions that guy up somewhere 7 squares from your primary guy, guess what he's going to do next turn? He's going to come and pulse wave him.
Yep.
It's easy to see these things, but yet sometimes you get so entangled.
It's tunnel vision.
Yeah, you get so tunnel visioned on your focus that you don't try to figure out what your opponent's doing too, and how can I slow them down.
It's a 2-player game.
While getting what I need to do.
And that's the thing a lot of people lose track of is, like, as you said, you need to pay... I would almost give your opponent more attention sometimes. Because being able to respond to your opponent before they're able to move in gives you the advantage when it comes to your turn to step in and take the board effectively.
I kind of jumped the shark a little bit. That last part I was talking about is going to be just the tip today too, and we talked about it a second ago, is picking your targets during a match. Taking out the pieces that are going to be to, no pun intended, exploit your weakness of your team. If, like we said, if you have a lot of dampeners, take out their guys that can get through dampeners. If they have all range, then try to base them as quick as you can. Whatever their weakness is, try to exploit it while still kind of maintaining somewhat of your focus for your team.
Yeah.
Like I said, try to pay attention to where they're positioning their guys and how far away, and what do you think that his intentions are with each of his pieces. Another thing is you can change your target during the game on the fly. Like, it's a constantly, like Austin said, it's a 2-player game. It's a constantly evolving thing, and sometimes, like, a good example is our tournament that we played that we're going to talk about here in a minute. This past Saturday, is I got so fixated on taking out this Superman who I thought was going to kill all my guys because he had Sharpshooter, Psychic Blast, 4 damage with 2 enhancements. I put all my eggs in the anti-Superman basket, and his other little piece, I ended up making a couple dumb positioning things, and his other pieces ended up really winning the game for me. Like, you need to change your tactics on the fly too. Another example of kind of covering weaknesses is if 3 out of your 4 guys have Indom and only one of his guys has Indom, then take out that Indom guy first. Make him be at such a disadvantage on actions that he's constantly having to push to do anything, and you don't have to worry about it.
Well, yeah, and pushing damage is really heavy.
It's like card advantage in Magic or any other
Exactly.
card game.
Yeah.
Basically, you're getting more actions than he is, and it's going to get to the point where if his team does not have a lot of Indom and yours does, you're at a distinct advantage throughout the entire game.
You're getting 2 actions per one he's getting. And if he wants a second action, he has to take a damage to do it.
And if he misses, it's abysmally bad for
It's
him
terrible.
if he pushes and then ends up not even getting anything
or even
out of
crit
it.
misses.
One big thing, especially in seals, that I like to do is taking out their move and attack first. Popping them, busting them, because most people start out with move and attack, and then they lose it after like 2 clicks. I like busting people off of move and attack, and it just slows them down so much.
Well, and it's like a reverse of the Indom situation. Move and attack kind of gives you 2 actions for 1.
Yeah.
So, like, once again, like card advantage, it's a 2 for 1. You get to move and attack in the same turn. If they lose that, they have to spend a turn moving, then a turn attacking. If you knock out their move and attack and their Indom, you have a character who has to take 4 actions to do anything solid against you. And it severely weakens.
Which is why Outwit is so good in general.
Yeah, never forget you can outwit Indom.
I would never. When we first started, every now and then I'd play a team without Outwit. We all would, and then we would be like, "Outwit is so stupid."
It's
like I'm like, with so much Outwit on all these pieces, why would you ever build a team without at least one person with Outwit? It's just there's so many options, even just to negate their Outwit, so that you don't have to be at a disadvantage. Where would you place? Which of the schools of thought do you think you usually play?
I swing wildly between one of 2 builds. I either do a kind of like the Commissioner Gordon team you talked about, where you have a swarm team. You have one solid piece that supports a bunch of smaller pieces. In my case, it's the zombie team. You throw a Cypher on there, you copy a TA, you have a swarm of zombies, you throw like Book of Skulls on there, and you have a force to be reckoned with. The other alternative that I run is I'm big on tentpole teams. I'll run like a really expensive Iron Man, a couple switches or something with him, and just it's a lot of damage down range. I'm bad about putting all my eggs in one basket in the bad way though, where like one of my favorite pieces ever is the Incredible Hulk Black Bolt. I'll focus so much on trying to get that double action pulse wave off on him, and it'll just throw the whole game away. But that's typically my build is more towards tentpole. I'd almost say that big focus on one solid figure to just carry the game and support it properly.
Drew, what do you like to play most of the time?
Most of the time? Okay. Well, you know this, and I play a lot of balanced teams. I just like building balanced teams. I don't like
the classical approach.
I don't like having all of my eggs in one basket, even though I played Chaos King with the Gauntlet at Gen Con.
It sounds like a one-man army to me.
That was a one-man army.
It didn't turn out very well, though.
No, it didn't. I came in last place.
As one-man armies usually don't. See, the reason that Justice League team base is so stupid is it gets all the strengths of one-man army without all the weaknesses.
You can't...
Exactly. It's not out action.
Yeah, it doesn't get out action.
You can't do anything against it.
Or the Imperial Guard team base for that matter, too. Any team base.
I've been known to play a lot. I just build balanced teams whenever I can.
Phil, what do you like to play the most?
Definitely, my biggest weakness in this game is I tend to overextend. So balanced teams, they definitely will help me maybe make up for that mistake, because I'll have that secondary attacker who might be able to pick up some of the slack after I've gotten my primary or damaged or KO'd. But honestly, like I think just balance also, because I love doing the themey or comic book themed kind of stuff, it lends itself to that a lot more too.
I would say I play a theme team 95% of the time. And mainly for comic accuracy, but also because theme props can save your butt.
They're so good.
You don't have to deal with crit misses, which I tend to do a lot. It's just a way out of bad situations sometimes.
Did you have something to say?
No.
Oh.
I scratched my ear.
Luckily we've talked about this before. Luckily for us, at our venues, the vast majority of our players play fun, comic accurate stuff. You know what I mean? Like we don't have. It's not a heavy meta everybody running really strong pieces all the time. We have a
and
we have a great group.
Great prizes. You're gonna get a higher level.
You're gonna get Well, like we had that one guy that came out this week, the new guy, and he was like, I saw the build and I thought it'd be a fun one because people would be playing teams that are more. You guys seem like you'd be playing more thematic teams and stuff like that as opposed to ridiculous.
Dugout that's what we're all about, pretty much. I mean, I am very strict on our build rules all the time. Like we said, I try to do resources only half of the time, and I try to do team bases and colossals and vehicles only like 1 out of every 4 weeks. So that way, people don't get tired of. We talked about this actually last time Phil was here. We talked about you as the judge. You need to control your environment by your team builds, and I feel like that's why we have a friendly environment. Is because A, I'm not even giving you the option usually, and B, even our guys are so casual that they don't really bring it anyways. Like next week, we've been doing so many strict builds. I said next week's 300 points, anything goes. But nobody's going to bring. I very much doubt anybody's going to bring Heroes for Hire or Justice League team base.
Just to be a douche.
I mean, there might be some great teams,
switches and stuff like that.
There will be good pieces, but it won't be the absolute top tier stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't get to play Golden Age around here a lot, or Silver Age. I mean, so I'm not going to play something that.
About half and half.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, GP and Dugout, we both do Silver Age almost all the time.
It just feels like...
It's just like the last 3 weeks since you've got your Clown Prince. We haven't had a chance for you to play that yet.
It's been longer than 3 weeks, but thanks for your interpretation.
Let's move into what we played since we're already kind of talking about it. Wednesday, we played at Phil's venue at Game Preserve in Greenwood, and the team build was Magnificent 7 individual pieces that all share a named keyword that equal 1,000 points. Yep, except the difference between it and the Gen Con build is that at Game Preserve you could not use team bases.
I can't wait to hear what Austin played.
Yeah. What did you play, Austin? Oh wait, never mind.
I played Inhumans, and I slapped that Black Bolt on there. Unspoken, I ran Unspoken, Black Bolt, Medusa, Karnak, Gorgon,
Crystal.
Oh man, that Crystal. That's like one of my favorite pieces. And then, dear God, I don't remember who the 7th person.
I think that's it, isn't it?
Oh, Ronan the Accuser.
Oh yeah.
So, oh man, that Crystal like got so much damage off that piece. Like you see her and you see her trait and everything, you're like, oh, she's okay. Did you realize how good that Quake is? Especially when she gets down dial on the special effects.
She's better in big games too.
Yeah.
Because the problem is people can base her and then kind of negate her stuff, but in a big game she can sit back and she has more targets hit with the special Quake, and she'll just sit back there and wreak havoc like all game.
And it's kind of cool because the way her Quake works is you just pick a square within line of fire, not a person. So actually you could do it, if I see up on a rim of elevated and there's someone back one where normally I couldn't target them,
right.
I can Quake them. Usually it's 1 penetrating is what she drops to in like the second few clicks, which was great. I went up against one team that had like a bunch of powerhouses. I used her to weaken them off their top clicks a bit, like turn after turn, and then positioned Black Bolt for that double power action for the 4 damage pulse wave. It was just great. Like I loved that team. I would highly recommend any of those pieces, Unspoken especially. I've never had a chance to play him. He's ridiculous.
Austin built that team and was kind of telling me the build rules, and then you didn't have Karnak in there, and I was like, how are you playing Inhumans?
I've never seen Karnak.
Without Karnak. Karnak is one of those pieces that everybody argue about all the time as, is this the most point efficient piece in the game? And he's definitely one of them.
His second click is an 11 attack 4 exploit on a 79 point figure.
We talked about secondary attackers just now, and he is literally the primary example of what you need in a secondary attacker, if you guys want to look them up on the unit section. I played as Guardians. I played the 2 Colossals, the Asgardian, or the Frost Giant and the Frost Warrior. I've had them for a little bit, and I've been waiting for a chance to play them, and this was a good chance. They're worth their points, but they're nothing special.
I'd say that's
they were just solid pieces, which is good. I didn't want them to be like broken or anything.
Yeah.
I played those 2. I played 30-point Loki for the prob and that
30-point
carry.
Loki I would say is ridiculous.
Loki saved my butt a lot with the prob, and nobody ever. I expected people to go after him. Nobody went after him. He has line of sight to the Giants like all the time because they're colossal. And I played Heimdall because of his damage power that gives all his guardians within line of fire +1 defense.
Yep.
And like I just said, those guys are colossals, so he always has line of fire to them pretty much 24/7. So they had +1 defense like the whole game. Plus they can't charge in on me because Heimdall's trait stops them. And then I had Tyr, who everybody knows my man crush on Tyr. He's just
beautiful, man.
He was by far the all-star of my games.
I watched one of your matches. You were doing some work.
He is just so good. And then I had Thor Frog because I built my team and then I only had like 75 points left. And he's like one of the few Asgardians that fits. And I've never played him, never even seen him actually. And Scott, who's a good friend of ours, let me borrow him. And he is a beast.
For 70, yeah.
I gave him the bucket of water, and he didn't do that great on my first game because I got swarmed. I played a really good team my first game. I ended up losing a close one. But on my second game, he took down that Marquee Vision, which we talked about before, doesn't die.
Oh my gosh.
He took down a Marquee Vision by himself.
My lord.
Which a Marquee Vision costs like 140 or something, and Frog costs like 70. So Frog, if he's in water, all lines of fire to him are blocked. Which used to, the old rules, he couldn't even be pulse waved if he's in water, but now the way they have it worded now, he can get pulse waved. But he moved in. Frog Thor also has shape change and impervious on his second click and exploit weakness. So every time I was purposely clicking him to a second click, he moved in and I exploited him for 3. He tried to hit me. I hit shape change, so he has 2 tokens. I hit him again for 3, and now he's off of his defense. And this is where Thor Frog's other power kicks in. If anyone is adjacent or occupying water terrain within like 6 squares of him, they take 1 damage at the beginning of my turn. So he was taking that because I'm on the water and he's next to me. Yeah. He's taking that, and I ended up killing it without even taking a single click of damage. So I was like, this guy's so nuts. He's like $100 though, because he's a chase from Hammer of Thor, which is like the least printed set.
It's really hard to find.
Set of,
But he was a blast to play, and I'd love to get my hands on one eventually, one of these days. And he did pretty, actually, in me and Austin's game, because Austin and I played the third round.
I focused his ass down. I wasn't going to deal with that.
I knew he wasn't going to be able to do much, and so I kind of set him out there as bait. And Austin and I had a close game. It was closer than the points made it out to be.
My big mistake was not hitting that tier at least once. I think that really screwed me over a lot. Because that 11 attack, 4 exploit, it was just crazy.
The Austin's team, like almost all of them had impervious, and I only had tier basically that had exploit. And one of my Frost guys has exploit on the very top click, and he loses it. Another bad thing about those Frost Giants is neither of them have willpower. But
I think one of them starts with it on his top click, though, as a power.
He gets it a couple clicks in. The guy with the mace does.
Nice.
The one with the spear actually turned out to be my best piece. He was really fun because he gets poison, and so I kept moving him in, pushing him onto poison, and making guys like I killed a Scarlet Witch with only poison without ever having to take her mystics with him. And his cool thing is, once he's about to die, he gets this special spear throw thing.
This is ridiculous.
Where he gets +3 attack and damage, and he gets to shoot with like 10 range at one target. And the cool thing about Colossals is, while they're based, they can still make ranged attacks against other people that aren't basing them. And I think I won. That's when I killed your Ronin with that. But it's a blast.
Because you were gonna try to hit Crystal, and realized you couldn't.
They were a lot of fun to play. But Tyr, I was trying to hide Tyr from Austin because I needed that exploit weakness so bad, and that exploit was the game changer.
Well, see, what really screwed me was when you based Crystal. That next turn, I was going to drop the Quake up on that ledge and hit that Tyr, which would have knocked him into the wall and dealt 1 penetrating damage too. But gosh, that was a fun game though. Like I don't know how I feel about the OP kit maps. I like the Canada side a lot, but the Danger Room's kind of hit or miss with me, but they're really balanced maps.
I like them.
Wolverine and the X-Men.
Phil and I played them, and then we played them at GP all day, and I like them.
They've got a really good mix of terrain, though. They've got your blocking, your elevated, your water, all that stuff.
Actually, both sides have a good mix of terrain.
Yeah. I love the Canada one especially. Did you play?
What did you play? Or did you get to play, Phil?
I did, actually. Took the first round by. TO, fun stuff. But, yeah, I actually played an X-Men team because I wanted to actually try out some of the new figs. Played Chaos War binary,
I love that binary.
Yeah, Feared Self Colossus and the Feared Self Wolverine. We all know about those figs. But some of the stars were the new Bishop was fantastic. Forge and Shadowcat. I played for Forge's Perplex and then Shadowcat's Outwit, and then they both get Outwit and then Perplex again. I played the 210 Magneto, the Prime.
Oh yeah, I saw that Prime one on
and
the
he
team.
was fantastic. But honestly, like that. All this being said, being stuck on the outside maps the whole time, the barrier for Magneto wasn't as effective against so many flying teams, and Colossus just turned around and did so much work.
I almost ran that Colossus. Like, when I was building some team, when I first was going through all the team builds I wanted to do, I saw that Colossus and I was like, man, I really want to play him because his dial is so sweet.
Yeah, and the Gravity Feed Shadowcat, and she has flight as well, so she's a really cheap taxi who lands and outwits something. I mean...
Really good piece.
A taxi that can outwit is amazing.
I played against Scott, which was and Tony, two of my favorite people to play against. And
they're so fun.
Yeah, and it was just a blast that whole night. I ended up going 1-1 of the games that I played.
I will like to say, the Phoenix Force are ridiculous at 1,000 points.
Yeah, whenever they gave the build rules, and the day before that tournament, I was looking on Realms at possible teams, and I just put one of each Phoenix Force, and I was like,
this team's
this is going to be the winner. And sure enough, that was like what the top three.
The top three were all Phoenix
or something
Force
like
teams.
that.
Yeah, two
or three out of the four or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, the winner was the Phoenix. Yeah, because you allowed Dark Phoenix to have Phoenix Force.
Yeah, we had a little house rule that day of if you had an idea of a keyword that should be on something, Phoenix Force should be on Dark Phoenix from Marvel 10th, and we allowed it.
Because I think winner was Phoenix 5, Hope, and Dark Phoenix. Second place was
one of each from the main set.
Yeah, one of each from the main set.
Which is the team I was looking at that I thought was dumb
but
enough.
I think they played them as XMen instead.
Oh,
he did play them as
and
X-Men.
then Jarrus, I think, played only Emma and Namor in an X-Men team with Dark Phoenix.
Which is still brutal.
I'm not gonna lie.
brutal.
If I would have got played this week, I was gonna play like Old Man Logan, Web of Spider-Man, Nightcrawler, Charles Xavier, Dark Phoenix.
That would be awesome.
I can't. But I saw Austin's team. I was like, okay, this bastard's gonna try and break this format. I'm
I
gonna
did
be a
try to
dick
break
on
the-
Austin.
That was the thing, though. Like, I
No,
looked.
you specifically said on Facebook, and I remember the quote, I'm going to break this format.
Yeah, that was when I was going to play Heroes for Hire because Phil decided to make it Highlander, so I couldn't play Stark Industries.
Well, you
Yes.
deserve that.
People love trying to break my rules. That's all I have to say.
The next top two teams were me and Tony, who both had Asgardians. There's a lot of Asgardian teams,
hell
actually.
yeah.
Tony's team was
Tony
slick.
Tony and I had like different like pieces that most people weren't running, and then the other ones were like all Fear Itself stuff. But
Yeah.
Tony's had a lot of old
Tony's
stuff.
team had a lot of figures I've literally never seen played.
What'd he play?
That Avengers movie Heimdall is
played-
really good. We used him in Civil
Yep.
War, I
Yeah,
think.
he used
Enchantress.
the Destroyer, the old Enchantress.
Yes.
That blue dude, man, what's his
That
name?
blue dude.
Yeah, what's his name?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Blue guy.
Oh, Tony knows who I'm talking about. He was awesome.
Let me see.
That blue guy. Just search for
Loki up
blue
front
guy.
and taking point with
Was it Lawfrey from the movie?
It might be Lawful.
Laffy.
Laffy.
Did he also have Thor and Hercules, I thought?
I
No, he
didn't
did
see
not.
Thor.
Somebody had one because I remember seeing
I
it.
love that piece, by the way.
That
Yeah,
one's
that
on
was,
my desk right now.
And somebody had Avengers Prime on their Asgardian team, which I forgot he has
Oh,
Asgardian.
yes, Asgardian. Oh my gosh.
He actually got that Avengers Prime got I think two-shotted by the new Thor.
Yeah.
LE, so
I was like, well, I think, yeah, he went and freaking busted it. Well, that's like we've talked about with Avengers Prime before. If your opponent has a way to take him down and like the counters to him, Avengers Prime's going to die really quickly. But if your opponent doesn't have a way to handle him, it's just murder.
There's a lot of, like, I've been looking through the Hammer of
he
Thor's.
had the Asgardian warrior in there as well.
Oh, those guys are sick. They're one of the best minion pieces there are. But I was looking through a lot of the Hammer of Thor pieces here recently because I just made a trade for a bunch of them, and they hold up so well overall as a set. There's so many great pieces
I
in
love
it.
Garskict.
But so like we said, there were a lot of Asgardian teams, and there was a lot of Phoenix 5 teams. But it was a fun day after all, overall. Sucks that me and Austin had to play each other last round, but I had to give him that loss. Couldn't let him go 3-0. We
Put
both
them back down to earth.
we both went
You guys
2
seem
and
to play
1.
each other at my shop.
Out of 24 players,
24
me and
players
Hunter
and-
play every week.
We both went 2 and 1 too. We had a lot of fun. Now this Saturday, or I guess yesterday, we played the teams that you guys picked for the best build design contest. I have the teams listed here, and I'll also try to find the names for each of these people that submitted them. The format was Pauper Modern, which means you can only use commons from main sets and side sets. You can't use anything from a starter set or like a tab app or anything where you know what the pieces are. Just common rarity figures. And we ended up having a lot of actually really good teams show up at that tournament.
Harry's especially.
Harry and Corey both had ridiculously good teams, and they ended up being first and second.
Corey was laughing and talked to me because he goes, it was kind of funny because the one time I thought I was building a fun team, I ended up building a really good one by accident.
He said he's done building fun teams after the last Wednesday.
We, Austin, which team did you play? You played.
I played the Justice League.
It was this one right here, actually.
Yep.
From Poople Surfer, who also submitted a Dial design contest piece. Talk about the team real quick.
It
overall.
was D10 Batman and Wonder Woman, the JL52 Green Arrow, the JL52 Mera, and the Teen Titans Aquaman, all with Silver Age. It was it was a really well balanced team. My first round, I made really bad misplays, and it cost me the game with 0 points, sadly. But the Batman's great. He's got a 8 leap climb, outwit on his top dial, and willpower.
12 attack with incap.
Yeah.
Plus
So
the ATA gives him a 13.
Yeah. So you put him in a good position to outwit somebody first turn if you want to use him in that way, and then when they're not expecting, all of a sudden he's got like a 6 range or something crazy in cap.
That's my favorite Batman.
And then that Wonder Woman was a great taxi to start it out, followed up by a secondary attacker. 'Cause she's got 10 movement with charge, super strength, imperv, and like 4 damage or 3 damage on her top dial. So I would pick up that green arrow. I can't like talk how good that green arrow is enough.
He's pretty good.
I did hit you for what, like 24 with that one
Yeah,
time?
let's not talk about that. So I would pick up that green arrow, move into position with that Wonder Woman, and carry him up, and then just start plinking arrows from elevated.
Mera has TK as well.
Yeah, Mara's got TK, and that's where I didn't think about the fact, like, I had misread her to a point. I thought her TK was only while she was in water, and when I learned it my second game, like, I started using the crap out of it. So what I started doing was Wonder Woman would carry a Green Arrow into position, and then either I would TK Green Arrow up, or I would TK Wonder Woman up and smack and tie up their pieces while Green Arrow's just plinking arrows from elevated. And then finally that Aquaman, at first glance, played him at 80 points, which is half dial. He's not amazing on his top click. He's like a 10 attack, 3 damage. He's got like a special toughness or something like that at like 17 defense.
And move and attack.
Yeah, he's got move and attack at 8 range.
His special toughness is that if you clear him after having 2 tokens, you get to heal him 1, I think.
Yes, but he doesn't have Endom, so like you're effectively, it's like...
So you kind of get, you push him, and then later you're going to get to heal 1 back eventually.
Yeah.
Did you take the map advice?
I ended up going with... We were playing on the OP kit map, so we ended up playing...
Which has a decent amount of water.
Canadian.
The Canada
I ended up
side.
playing on Canadian Wilderness every time, so it had a good amount of water. I didn't get to take advantage of Mara's stuff, though. I think my opponent saw Aquaman and Mara and avoided water like it was the plague without knowing what my team did. I got some night. My favorite thing to do with that Aquaman, though, was to move an attack and punch someone and take the -2, but I'd need an 8 to hit, and like every time I did it, I'd hit for 8. Or I'd hit the 8 and freaking smack. But it was... No one ever expected him to do that. Like, even if I missed, it's an 8 range, I moved up, I tied up something with him while Green Arrow was plinking up there. It was a really fun team, and I had some good matches, and I ended up going 2-1, and me and... Well, I'll let Drew...
It was one of the better teams that we got submitted to us, and the one that I thought was the best was the one that Drew played.
Yeah.
Talk about your team, Drew.
I don't know whose it was.
It was Batarang 96, who also submits things to our Dial Design contests.
It was basically 2 Bruce Waynes from is it Batman?
The Gravity Feed Batman.
Yeah, Gravity Feed Batman. The guy who can use TK.
And Perplex.
And he's so sick, nasty, and suave.
For 50 points, man.
He's one of the best TK pieces I think I've ever seen.
We saw him a lot on the Golden Age teams at Worlds.
Well, he's definitely... Yeah, because for Modern, TK's not as cheap as it used to be. Remember that Jean Grey that I play all the time that's 27 points with TK?
Yeah.
Like, TK used to be thrown out all the time, and now you have to pay a premium. But at least for the 50 points, he get TK and Perplex.
He's really good. And then possibly the best Superman of all time, Superman 1 from the Superman set.
But at 150.
But at 150, which is probably...
Still a damn good dial.
So you had 2 of each. So
Yeah.
you had 2 TKers and Perps
short.
and 2 Hypersonic King Supermans.
It is the dumbest team I think I possibly could have played. It's basically my first game. I sat there, I stood up, I went second, which was bad for my opponent. He moved up, I TK'd a Superman in, hit him for 7. His Green Arrow died.
That's the one thing I hated about playing that Green Arrow is it was the first target.
He starts on willpower, and he's screwed.
He's only like a 17 defense willpower on his top clip.
It's unfortunate, and then I just picked off the rest of his team one by one. He had a good team. It was just my team was retarded.
That was the guy when I'd been second. Like he had a pretty balanced team, kind of like mine.
That Blue Beetle he was playing, the one from DC 10th with Mystics.
I didn't even think about him because he's a common.
He's really
he's
good.
Solid. I smacked.
The weird thing about him in that set is that he's the one that gets promoted into, but he's actually the common, and Ted is the uncommon.
I know.
The thing I like is his trait where if he gets hit for 3 or more, he gets a token instead once per turn or whatever. I freaking busted him, and I was like, yeah, I carried an object over and smacked him, forgot about that trait, and I was like, no!
Yeah, unfortunately for him, when I hit him, he already had 2 tokens. He had pushed him, so yeah. Second round I played against Harry, who had this really, 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 he
had the piece that I thought everybody would end up running.
Doctor Strange.
Sadly, I guess happily, only he ran it. But it's the Gravity Feed Strange that gives everybody energy shield.
Yeah, he ran a Defend Ball Super Senses team?
It was so good.
And he had, the thing was he had Dove, who is an 18 defend.
Yeah.
And then he has Doctor Strange. So from range, they're all 20s.
Yep.
And then I think it was a mystical theme.
He had 2 Jinxes.
Yeah, mystical theme.
He had the Iron Fist from Fear Itself, and he had
that Iron Fist.
I can't remember who else. Oh, Wonder Girl.
Yeah.
So the thing was, his team was susceptible to energy explosion, of course.
But with a
20 defense and a lot of super senses, I think he may have gotten hit in that last game because Corey had a Green Arrow, I think, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think he took a decent chunk of damage from an energy explosion. But anyways, he's a good team.
Yeah, he won the map roll, so it was on that Iron Man map, the one with the wall, right?
It's like a shanty town place.
It's supposed to be the town he goes to and meets that kid in Iron Man 3, I guess. I don't know, but the map sucked, and his team, I could only go in and hit Jinx. Was basically, he set it up perfectly, he played it perfectly, he deserved the win, so he got it. Third game was against Scott. That went pretty badly for Scott. I went up, hit his Batman died. Then his Superman got in on he killed one of my Supermans. So, props to Scott for killing my Supermans.
His team did a lot of damage. I had tons of issues with it. He gave me my loss.
Those Dark Knight Rises assassins I love so much.
They have Enhance, and his Superman has Sharpshooter with Psychic Blast.
Mm-hmm. He hit my Superman for
So he's hitting for 6 penetrating.
Yeah. It's take 6 penetrating. I'm like, oh.
Did you have the Fast Force Superman?
No, it was the main set, Man of Steel, number 1, and he was playing it at full points, and he had those two assassins that have Enhance, and then he had the Dark Knight Rises Batman that has Sonar Outwit, so as long as you're within 6 squares, he doesn't need Line of Fire, he just outwits it.
That's amazing.
And it was a really balanced, it was a really good
It was
team.
a good team, but unfortunately for him, I could TK across the map and hypersonic it and then hit him for 7. But,
good matches. My team, I picked Dr. Banner's team, which was the common Red She-Hulk from Fear Itself, the common leader. Well, I guess they're all commons. The leader, the leader that works really well with the humanoids, and then 4 of the humanoids. Excuse me, all with the Intelligentsia ATA.
The team was mildly annoying.
It was a blast to play, I gotta say, even though I got absolutely destroyed. I went 1-2 for, I think, the first time in my life. I don't think I've ever went 1-2. And I got killed, but I had a blast playing it. What's cool about the team is their synergy. The humanoids, if they're within 8 squares of the leader, they get shape change and willpower. And when they die, no matter how far away they are from him, he rolls a d6, and if he gets a 5 or 6, you get the humanoid back in your starting area. On click 2, which they only have 4 clicks.
Yeah,
but they do get poison on their last 2, so I was taking advantage of that. I was making people punch them onto poison, knowing and basing the guys who didn't have dampeners, so that I wanted them to punch me on poison, and it did work out. Me and Scott had a really close game, but one thing that was a problem, I took out that Batman first because he had outwit, and the Intelligentsia ATA is if you're not currently being perplexed or outwitted, everyone on your team gets +2 range, and that gives the leader like a 10 range or something, and that counts for his outwit too, because leader has outwit. So I was TKing up the Red She-Hulk, hitting somebody for 7 or however much. I ended up hitting his Batman onto his last click, and then Superman with those 2 enhances and Sharpshooter and Psychic Blast, like almost one-shot her. So there was a funny moment that happened where I took 2 humanoids and I based that Superman to distract him while the leader, so that the leader could outwit his defense and then finally actually hit him because he had imperv. And he targeted both of them with Sharpshooter, had the 2 enhances from the Shadow Assassins, and then he rolled a crit. So he's already doing 6 with the enhances, and then a crit. Since he targeted 2 people, they each take an additional 1. So he one-shotted each of them. In one swing, he one-shotted both of my humanoids.
Man.
And we had a fun match, though. It was closer than it ended up being. I think he just had Superman left and like one of the assassins on his last click left at the end of the match. And then last round I played Austin, and as soon as I saw a team, I was like, I don't stand a chance against this team. I did finally get to regrow. I did get one of my humanoids back, which was fun.
And it almost killed my Green Arrow. So
yeah, I was poisoning the crap out of Green Arrow.
But that was fun, though, because like that was when I had learned that Mara did have TK. So what I did was I carried Green Arrow up. I carried Green Arrow up, and then I TK'd him across the cliff to another position. Drew line of fire and popped one of the humanoids in energy explosion.
What really killed us was, like you said, you were trying to hit high rolls with Aquaman.
And I did.
And you did, and
I busted Leader.
He hit Leader, and Leader goes down fast, and he hit him for like 4, I think, because you might have had an object.
No, I think it was probably only 3.
But he needed like an 8, and I theme team propped him twice, and he just kept hitting
it. Oh my god.
And I
was like, well, game's over. But it was a blast to play, but I did not do very good. So Austin and Drew both went 2-1, but not only did they both go 2-1, they both had exactly 799 points.
Exactly.
Which has never happened. So I had them roll 2d6.
What did you roll, Drew?
Austin rolled a 10.
I rolled a 12.
And Drew rolled a 12. So the winner is Drew's team, which is Batarang 96. So I'll send you a PM and we'll figure out what kind.
Sorry, Surfer, I tried.
We'll find out what kind of tokens you want. And then next week I'll have a new best build assignment for you guys for September. But that was a blast. I liked playing teams that other people made.
Yeah,
I had been wanting to play those humanoids for a long time now. I bought like 5 of them when I first got them because I was like, sometime I'm going to play a swarm team with these guys.
I feel like the humanoid team, like at a larger point setup, you could build a really fun, really crazy team with them. Run like Cypher from GSX on there or something to give them all like mystics from an opponent.
Oh my god!
Oh man, you could
Cypher.
I'm gay for Cypher. That figure's so good. And that jumpsuit, buddy. I mean, come on.
The old classic New Mutants jumpsuit.
New house rule.
New house rule, no Cypher. No one in jumpsuits. No one in jumpsuits.
No whatever Austin wants to play.
Yeah.
Let's just ban Austin.
We had a ton of submissions for the best
Yes.
build. I want to say like at least 25, counting all the ones from Realms, from our email, from Twitter,
Reddit.
So it was awesome to hear a lot from you guys, and I have had so many submissions on the Dial Design contest. It's been crazy. One reason I think is because everybody was excited to do lanterns because everybody loves lanterns.
And the fact that once they announced it wasn't a lantern event next, everyone's like, no!
Yeah, that's true.
Except Phil, because Phil doesn't matter.
I like Green Lantern.
Phil wanted a Superman event.
I didn't like the War of Light stuff. I'm sorry.
So
we don't like you, Phil.
Orange.
What? Come on now.
Come on now.
Hey, he Highlandered me.
You deserved it.
I have the scores from the Dial Design contest. Like I said, I have a ton of submissions, like 20 at least. So I'm not going to go through one each individually. I will just say there were tons of them. I wanted to give like 5 of them 10s. Like there were so many good ones. And not only that, there weren't very many duplicates.
I didn't even see the weaponer.
I just got it last night, and one this morning was the last one I'm going to give. So I had tons of submissions, lots of awesome ones. I'm going to give out 1 10 and then a whole lot of 9s and 8s. So I'm just going to read the number 10, which was actually Batarang 96. Isn't that who just won this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I gave you a 10.
He's in good standing for the other contest now.
I gave him a 10.
You do not know him.
For his, no, we don't know him in person. He submitted a Slush, which is a Sinestro Core Lantern, which actually, he hasn't been in anything for a long time. But he has plasticity and poison, and just his dial is just so, it feels just like Slush, which if you don't know who Slush is, he was in the, when Jeff Johns first rebooted Green Lantern back in like 06, 07, he did a bunch of Sinestro Core stuff right after the Sinestro War. And Slush is like this giant gelatinous blob who like can consume people. And he made a really good dial of giving him shape change, giant reach, plasticity and poison, and then a special
he gets capture too.
Yeah, and capture later down the dial, and then he gets close combat expert, and when he does, it's penetrating. It's nothing like super crazy special. I just felt like it was the most perfectly accurate. Like if I made a Slush dial, this is exactly what I would make for him. But like I said, there were literally like 3 other ones that along with this Slush one, that I was like, man, I don't know who to give a 10. It was so close. So I'll have the scores up there probably tomorrow at the latest. And I'm basically the lowest score I think I'm giving is like an 8. Tons of good submissions. And Austin is now going to give your assignment for week number 2, which I will post up probably today. And you guys can start submitting, and you will have until Saturday morning, or we'll say Friday night, September the 6th, to get these submissions in. All right, what's the assignment?
I want mercenaries. I want characters who are known for being soldiers of fortune and being hired to do stuff, but I don't want your Slade and Wade Wilsons. So don't give me Deathstroke and don't give me Deadpool. But give me characters with fun, explosive, gun-toting action movie style powers. I want...
Didn't you say you want mercs and or assassins?
Mercs and assassins.
Okay. So there's a lot of options with League of Assassins.
Yeah, there's a ton with League of Assassins. I don't want characters that are like, Wolverine got paid once to do something. I want like characters who are known for being assassins or mercs.
I want to see a Solo.
Yeah. No, I want to see
like a Bronze Tiger or what's her name that just got put out in SOG? Lady Shiva.
Yeah.
And pieces like that.
She's really good.
But I also want to see fun, like have fun with this one, guys. I want to see like explosions.
Hitman.
Yeah, some good running shot stuff. I'm sure I'll see a ton of dead shots or something in there.
Yeah, sure. So, any assassin or mercenary besides Deadpool and Deathstroke, because those are too easy.
I will accept the Deathstroke family if you can do something cool with them. So
Ravager.
Any
Jericho's
Ravagers.
Not an assassin, so you can't do him, but you could do Rose or Ravager. Cool. So I'll have that up tonight. Our community question last week was, what is your favorite DC set? And surprisingly, it was Drew's favorite. Arkham Asylum got the most votes.
Nice.
Told you it's the best.
Superman was a very close second. And
really?
Yeah, Superman surprisingly got a
when
ton
I
of
hear
votes
people
too.
whine, they whine about Superman. Like they say that the Superman Hulk era was like one of the dips for heroes.
I think people look back on that negatively because of the whole Battle Royale fiasco that year too. I thought it was a good set. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but I thought it was a pretty solid set. For one, the pieces are still extremely playable.
Oh yeah, I play a ton of pieces.
There's tons of
Superman.
good pieces in that set. Teen Titans got a lot of votes, and we got votes for none for Dark Knight Rises.
Really?
One for Justice League 52.
They might not have thought about it as a
that's
set,
true.
though.
Legacy, actually, even a set as old as Legacy got one, and then a couple people said Batman. But
Any hyper time?
no hyper times.
Oh.
So we got about 25-ish votes on that, too. The community question this week will be, what is your favorite generic keyword theme team? So you got
Robot.
tons. I don't even know what mine would be. I mean, yours is probably Robot.
Robots
Play
are straightforward, yeah.
What's your favorite generic team, Phil?
Oof. That's rough, man.
Just say Mystical and take a cop out.
No,
Sorry,
I mean, I
cop
like
out.
Mystical,
I
but
like Mystical, but...
I mean, I think actually Scientist. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
Scientist is my favorite.
I was going to say Scientist is a close second.
Scientist is my
Overall,
favorite.
Mystical and Scientists are probably the better ones.
I'm gonna say Animal.
Well, now that Robot's got an ATA, I'm excited to see what runs with that, too.
Drew likes the animals. I like animals, too. I also like monsters because I love Mole Man so much.
Yeah,
but
monsters are great.
remembering that police is actually a generic theme team.
I'm gonna have to go with Celebrity.
Pilot.
I'm going to go with police because it's actually generic.
Big Bertha has Pilot. Do you know how funny that is to me?
So we'll post that question up on Twitter and Facebook. We will link the Dial Design contest and the Best Build contest in the podcast description. And like I said, next week I'll have you a new contest for Best Build. We had a question, just one question that was emailed to us this week from Spiderham. He said he enjoyed the episode about improving your community for existing judges, which was last time Phil was on.
Hello.
But he wants to know our opinion on advice for someone who is about to become a judge and what they can expect. This is a big question. I'm going to hit the main points, and then we'll have Phil chime in too. Number one is it's time consuming. You need time during the week to prepare things for your venue, like putting up events. I have calendars where I plan things out, a couple months ahead of time. You're going to need time for that. You're going to need time to look on the rules forums and look up, all these crazy... This is such a crazy, convoluted game. You find out new rules all the time. Like, I just found out one last week that we've called wrong a lot, and actually was called wrong at Gen Con, not surprisingly. Called wrong at Gen Con during a Lord of the Rings match on me, too. Because... I tried to do it, and then the guy was like, I don't think you can do that. And I was like, I think you can. And he's like, well, you want to call a judge? And the judge was like, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
But now we found out that you can't do that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people have been arguing.
Whether you have sharpshooter or not. Because I think the judge might have got confused because I had sharpshooter, but
That's true.
Whatever. So you do always find out. I mean, this is such a multifaceted game. There's so many rules. Like, there's always going to be little things. But I just mean, you need to be very familiar with your PAC and very familiar with your rule book and know how to find answers quick.
And carry them on you.
Well, yeah, that's a given. That's an easy given, but you need to spend time. You're going to need time to spend on rules forums. Basically, you're going to need a lot of time to dedicate to this outside of the actual events. You know what I mean? During the week, if you're playing on the weekends or vice versa. So, number one, it's time consuming. Number two... Or another thing, time consuming, putting in the freaking event system stuff, like scores for each round and matchups, and so that everybody can keep track of all their stuff if they use the event system. Like, you have to go in there and put up every single matchup and the scores on everything, and then make sure it's all final. And sometimes that event system screws up, doesn't work properly half the time, but they're working on it. They're making it better.
You can also do it by paper and then enter it after the tournament.
Right, that's the best. That's the way to do it. I don't suggest doing it as it happens. Yeah. I suggest doing it by paper. Like I said, you need to be almost an expert on the rules, not just basic interactions like can I flurry blades, like silly stuff like that, but like even some of the more complex stuff, like the one we were just talking about that came up, like if Blue Beat already has 2 tokens, can he use a Scarab ability? Like, individual things like that happen a lot of times.
We'll be running to the double power action versus Hella on Wednesday.
Right. You need to be very good about being on time and coming early to events. I know sometimes we rush on Saturday. Like, every now and then I get there like right at 3, but I wish lately we've been able to get there a little earlier because Drew's been driving. But you need to try to get to your venues early. and try to get things set up so that you can actually start on time.
Well, it's also good because like there's been a few times now we've gotten there a little early, and we'll have people who are building their teams right before the thing starts, and they're asking questions about the build beforehand.
Yep. So those are my main things. You need a lot of free time during the week that you can commit to planning and organizing and learning. You need to be a very dependable and reliable person, and you need to be almost a rules expert. If you're not those three things, then I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be a tough road, but eventually you could get there. What do you think, Phil?
Well, I think everything you said, absolutely true. I will, if I can see your list real quick.
Sure.
Where's it at here? Where were you reading?
Here? Oh, his question?
Yeah.
Just wants to know advice
see.
for someone about to become a judge and what to expect.
Okay.
What can he expect to become a judge?
Well, I can honestly say I receive questions via personal message or text. I'd say 16 to 18 hours a day, and I'm not joking. We have about 30 people who are always talking to me, even if it's just casually. They just want to know what's going on, what the rules are, what to expect. So to save a lot of hassle, a really detailed description of your event when you guys post your events, that's going to help a lot. The more things you can guide in your just direction, you take it out of the player's hands, and if you want to go with a little more freedom for the players, then that's perfectly fine as well.
I was going to say, don't forget to put Silver Age or Modern on the post, Phil.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that too. Which I don't mind Silver Age, so that's awesome. Yeah, definitely be there early. I usually show up about an hour early. My job allows me to do that kind of stuff, so it's really nice. And then the rules expert thing, because like I said last time I was here, I'm still fairly new to the game. I bought a rule book from Ben Chung that had a lot of great advice in there. I've been reading that from cover to back, and having somebody kind of as your rule wingman helps. You're going to get players that will know more than you, and some that think they know more than you. And
It's a lot that think they know more than you.
It's completely okay. As a community, figure out the answers, but be confident in making a ruling. That's something that Hunter taught me. And then if it is a mistake, acknowledge it later with your community, and definitely create a Facebook group so you have an easy way to communicate with everybody. If you have quick access to one another, your community is going to grow. It's going to be stronger, tighter. That's just a fact.
Let's move into the comics section. Today we're going to be talking about
Phil's all excited for this one.
X-Men because, of course, Wolverine X-Men set, everybody's, even with all the problems in everybody's boosters, everybody's loving these pieces. There's so many excellent, solid playable pieces, period.
They look awesome, too.
The sculpts are great. There's lots of switch clicks. I've been having a blast with it so far.
Staring at these team bases like, damn.
There are a ton of X-Men books right now, as per usual. So basically, I'll name off one, and if you've read any of it, kind of chime in with the brief, how you think, your opinions of it. If you haven't read it, because I don't expect everybody to read all 10 of these, then...
Well, I was going to say, and I do want to discuss after we're done on each of the books, I want to talk about the whole, the merger of the X-Men and Avengers universe that they've been pushing into lately.
What do you mean, the merge of the...
Beforehand, people used to say, X-Men and Avengers were kind of their own separate worlds. They intertwined every now and then a little bit. Drew, I'm going to...
Just get to it. Just tell them what happened.
What?
Are you talking about the end of Uncanny Avengers?
No.
Because it was amazing.
I haven't read it yet.
I haven't read it yet either.
Oh my goodness.
No, I was...
I have it on my Kindle, but I haven't read it yet.
It definitely merges the two universes.
All the old comics I read, it's it seems like X-Men happens in its own world almost compared to the rest of the superhero comics. And then, recently, especially since AVX, it seems like they're trying harder to make everything happen all at once. When you're reading, even the end of, Fantastic Four and FF, the world's at threat and all this stuff, you don't really see that many X-Men there. You're like, oh, well, if the whole world's under threat, why aren't they there?
I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And, that's also because of the whole people's discrimination towards mutants thing.
Exactly.
That's the main thing.
Or hot button subject.
And it's even worse now after Avengers versus X-Men. It's even worse almost because of the whole, them causing all the drama. First book I want to talk about, Uncanny X-Force.
So good.
Haven't read it.
it's not near as good as Remender's run.
That's true.
But it's still entertaining to me, mainly because Phantom X and Psylocke are still in it. That's my main ones I care about. Puck's been in it. Puck's freaking awesome.
Yeah, Puck's a beast.
And Bishop was interesting.
And Bishop is in it, and he'll probably... The Reavers, mainly, are the reason that he's in it. And I think him and Storm and Puck, they're probably about to have their own kind of arc. Like, they just summed up the whole Betsy and Phantom X arc, and now they're going to move back into the Reavers storyline, which I'm interested to see, because I haven't read a whole lot of Reaver stuff myself before, or a whole lot of Bishop, period. So I'm interested in seeing how that goes.
Now I actually want to read this.
So the Rick Remender run is by far like better, but these are the same characters with a couple extras like Puck and Bishop in there, and it's worth reading if you like X-Force.
I noticed Remender's name shows up a lot on our podcast, like for.
Well, he's big right now. I mean, he kind of exploded recently. I mean, the first really good book. The first book that he really wrote that caught everybody's attention, especially mine personally, was Wolverine Weapon X. That was such a great series, and ever since then, it's like Marvel keeps giving him more and more stuff, and he just keeps kicking ass with it. And now he's writing the event books and is kind of getting his name thrown out there, so that's good for him.
He's definitely the Kirkman of this decade.
He's doing really well. Is anybody reading X-Men Legacy, which I've talked about before? This is the book with Legion.
I think you're the only one.
Nobody's reading it?
I'm not a big Kid and Play fan, so...
He does look like Kid and Play. So, like I've said before, it starts off really interesting. He's a very interesting character, period. Just his whole power set and his whole backstory with being son of Xavier and all his crazy, like, Omega level. He is one of the Omega level mutants. One of the handful.
But he's like a broken, fractured Omega level. Like,
if once he gets his shit together, he'll be the most powerful being in the universe.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, he doesn't have a full handle on everything that goes on with him.
Now I'm confused. I thought back in the when I read X-Men like exclusively, I thought alpha levels were like the Cyclopses and the Jean Greys. They were like considered alpha level. Did that change?
No.
Omega level. There's like a bunch of different like conditions where one's considered Omega level, but they're mutants that have the capability to completely alter reality.
They're basically the most powerful potentially. Like Rachel Summers is one, and
okay, so people who can just end it.
Almost, yeah,
gotcha.
Like that powerful.
They're apocalyptic level.
Legion is one. Actually, we can look it up while we're talking.
No, I'm just curious because I'm just now getting back. The Now series has been great, and just real fast to go back on Rick Remender while you're talking or looking that up. Fear Agent. If you guys have never read that book. I believe Moore does the artwork for it. He did the early Walking Dead stuff.
Huh? Is it under Image?
Fear Agent? No, it's it might be Image actually.
Icon?
Dark Horse. Yeah, but Dark Horse and Image. So, fantastic. Tony Moore, Rick Remender.
Yeah, I thought Jean was too. Jean is.
Yeah, Jean is.
Jean, Vulcan, of course. Vulcan is a freaking beast, even though he's an asshole.
Ridiculous.
Franklin Richards, of course, my personal favorite because he's
awesome.
Why do we not have a Franklin Richards clique yet?
We do. It's called Onslaught. And Elixir, which a lot of people don't know. Elixir, I've read. He's in the X-Force run with X-23 and Wolfsbane and Warpath. But Elixir's really cool, but they don't show a lot of them. But Elixir, Jean Grey, Rachel, Vulcan, Iceman, and we were just talking about how strong Iceman really is, and even though everybody like hates on him because he's a kind of a clown, and Legion and Franklin. Franklin is right now, honestly, Franklin is the most powerful being in the universe. As if you read Fantastic Four and you know his potential. Just beyond ridiculous, and Valeria too, but Franklin especially.
Breaks beyond time, reality.
He is just insanely powerful. Herald. So, X-Men Legacy. Anyways, we got off on a tangent, but X-Men Legacy is about Legion, and it starts off very interesting, but slowly and surely, it's just been going downhill. The art is craptacular right now. I'm not even sure who's doing it, but it's garbage, and. I feel like I say this every other week. Every other week, I feel like I say if Legion or X-Men Legacy is not good, I'm dropping it, and I'm always at that point, and it's like slowly dragging me along, mainly because they threw Psylocke in there last week. That I was like, okay, Psylocke's in there, I'll read. But if it's crappy this week, then I'm dropping it.
Okay.
Until next
week.
Until next week. Psylocke's back.
we have the main the book just called XMen, and that's the one where it's only the girls, and Wolverine's in it now too. It starts,
just the girls.
It starts off mainly based around Jubilee and her having this kid all of a sudden, and you don't really know like where it came from. Is it her kid? What the heck's going on? And they're trying to help her figure it out, and there turns out to be a whole backstory behind that. And I like it so far.
Is it her kid?
It's not her kid. Spoilers.
Wolf and Cub stuff. I like it.
Spoilers, it's not her kid. Well, she's basically adopted.
Well, like they say that like in the first episode, though. Like, she mentions it being like a loner child.
Yeah, but I just mean that's the premise of when the series gets set up. Because it's still new. It's only like 7 issues in or something.
It's only like 4. It's like 4 or 5 in. It's not that far in. So far, I like it. I mean, like, it's interesting at the very least. I'm not in love with it. Like, it's not a kind of book that I'm really looking forward to reading the next issue.
I agree.
It's got an interesting premise. The characters are interesting. There's 1 or 2 that kind of annoy me, but
Rachel's in it. Storm.
I like Rachel in it. Like the way she is, and it's just kind of.
Rachel's a badass.
She's
pretty
but I don't like
badass,
her.
but she's always been kind of annoying, even in Excalibur.
Yeah, true.
Rachel's the best in Starjammers and War of Kings and Realm of Kings. She's such a beast. Rachel, Storm, Psylocke, Rogue, Jubilee, and Wolverine are the main X-Men's in it. And a lot of people hate on Jubilee, but Jubilee's actually
I like
really
Jubilee
cool.
in
I
a
like
lot,
her
actually.
too. She's kind of like everybody's favorite, like whipping boy of the X-Men.
Whipping boy.
Like I said, Uncanny X-Men has been one of the original Marvel Now titles. That is the one with Cyclops in his own school. Now I know most of you guys read that.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts?
We talked about this.
Yeah.
As you said about your X-Men Legacy stuff, I was on the verge of dropping that book for the last 2 issues, and they kind of brought me back in with the Sentinel and everything. I think it's interesting what they're doing. The broken powers, the new students. But I don't like the flavor of Cyclops. Scott seems to be like on the verge of having relations with everybody, and that's really awkward to me.
Well, I was going to say, like, the premise of the whole thing, for those who don't know, is basically Scott Summers is starting his own like rebellion school. That's counterpart to the Jean Grey school.
Mm-hmm. It's called the
Charles Xavier.
Yeah, it's called the Xavier School.
He's basically like trying to become this new mutant messiah, effectively, and rescue them all. But he, Magneto, Magic, and Emma Frost are the ones who are running it, and their powers are all fractured and broken. And it's just like their little adventure that's going on. My problem with it's been, though, it's paced weird. Like, I know I've said that before about books. Like, you go from like a bunch of action and introducing characters, and then it's just like 4 or 5 issues of just Summers talking to everybody. And then, like, the latest issue picked it back up. There's been some action. They've introduced a villain, kind of, with some cut-ins.
I'm okay with the lack of action. I came from a Chris Claremont school of X-Men. You couldn't see the pictures. There's so many word bubbles. But, I mean, the story that they're telling, I think, is as fractured as the pace and their powers, if you will. And that's what's messing with me, unfortunately, is you go from... You think you're getting more information from a previous issue, and then all of a sudden they're like just doing training in the next issue. Like, there's no
focus.
Yeah, they're not telling us what needs to be told.
It's like we talked about with Hickman before. We like when Hickman does stuff, because if he does side tangents, it's going to converge back
later.
in.
It's going to be very important.
Yeah, he's like the definition of Chekhov's gun. If he introduces something, it's going to be useful later. What I don't like about Uncanny X-Men is a lot of it is like, it's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone, it's worthless.
The art dropped off.
Oh yeah, the art dropped off horribly.
I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it, and it's been holding my attention well, mainly because of just the kids, and like I like
the new characters.
I like meeting new mutants.
Gold Ball is my favorite.
Gold Balls.
Like
battle cry.
All the books in comics that are about like Avengers Arena, Teen Titans, of course, but Avengers Arena, New Mutants, like
likes little kids.
I've always just really liked those books, just because I like being thrown new characters all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason why I like the book.
Well,
I don't love it though. It's not that amazing.
The one thing I do enjoy of it is the Stepford sisters or
The
whatever.
Cuckoos.
Yeah, I like their back and forth and how like some of them are rebelling and stuff like that. It isn't like the students are probably my favorite part of it. I'm hoping either it picks up and starts getting more focused now that stuff started to snowball.
The contrast to this book is the all-new X-Men book, which is what is the school? What is that school called? I can't remember.
The school at Rachel
Jean Grey.
It's the Jean Grey school, yeah.
No, Rachel doesn't run it. Kitty runs it. Kitty and Wolverine run the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I do like this book. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. The premise of this book is it's the main school and the main set of X-Men, but the original X-Men, which is Iceman, Angel, Jean, Scott, and Hank, have been pulled out of their era by Beast, the current Beast, to try to solve his problem. Like he has a physiological thing that's killing him, and he brings them back. I forget why, something where he thinks they might have something that's going to help cure him or whatever. So he brings them back in time he brings them to the current day and time, and of course it goes along with the rest of the post Ultron stuff where we're messing up the time-space continuum.
Well, I think he's studying their explosion of mutations, like how they're advancing, because his is getting hyper-advanced, and it's degenerating him. But
it's a very interesting and well-drawn book.
It's a beautiful book.
I was going to say, the art I've seen is just...
It's cool seeing, like, the initial arc is the kids and just learning what all happens to him ahead of time, like Scott learning that he's going to become a colossal asshole and kill Xavier eventually, and
Jean learning a colossal asshole.
Well, Jean learning that she's going to become the Phoenix, which almost destroys the entire universe, then her herself is going to die. Like, I mean, it's
pretty
crazy.
heavy, Doc.
I love.
And Hank also doesn't know he's going to transform yet into the actual Beast figure because at the time he's human. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna bring up and laugh at the fact that when we get to Wolverine and the X-Men, when Kid Omega meets the old school Jean and like he's hitting on her and stuff, it's freaking hilarious.
I think it'd be crazy. Like, I like the whole concept of Jean because she's still learning the powers. She's early on, and she walks into this world where they're so open to Jean just naturally that she's just flooded with all their thoughts and feelings about her, and just the way they portray it is great. It's absolutely great.
It sounds like a stupid premise, like, oh, we're going to pull the old X-Men into the new one. It sounds like almost like a cash-in, but it's pretty well done, and you enjoy it.
Actually, that sounds pretty amazing to me, and actually, totally sold me. So if you want to be a dick,
but
about
it's worth it.
I like the crossover aspect of it. Like in Uncanny X-Men, like you have Angels gone over to join
Scott's school.
Angels joined Scott's school, and like you get to see his interactions with stuff. And they're telling him like at one point they're like, "Oh, you're gonna work for Apocalypse." He's like, "Oh shit," and like there's all these little things that they've done a good job of tying it into everything. And it's all right.
It's one of the better X-Men books right now. Wolverine and the X-Men is the best. Well, that and X-Factor are tied, in my opinion. Wolverine and the X-Men has been running before Marvel now.
It's my opinion, and if you disagree, it's wrong.
It's coming to a close right now, actually. Supposedly, this is the last arc. It's all about all the new kids.
Good riddance.
All the new kids and kind of the teachers, too, like Wolverine and Kitty and Bobby and Rachel and Husk initially, and Toad's the janitor. It's a very, very well-drawn book, for one, but it's a very comical book. The characters, like I said, it's one of those books where you have tons of these new characters and new power sets that are introduced to you like nonstop, and there's so many lovable kids like Kid Omega, but it's like you have Gladiator's son, you have Brew, which is an awesome little Brood guy, but most importantly, you're introduced to the new Hellfire Club, which is actually kids, with Kincaid being the head guy, and these kids are just like ridiculously like crazy and bloodthirsty.
Of Frankenstein.
Yeah, they're nuts, and they're really like over the top evil, but it works. It works really well, and they've had so many great stories. It's just a well written book. I can't remember who writes it, but it's the best like dedicated X-Men book.
Yeah,
by
I was
far.
gonna say at times it can get a little wacky and goofy, but it's in a good way.
Yeah,
like it's still serious when it's goofy, and I really like books that can pull that off, and it's been enjoyable so far.
There's been lots of big, like, I feel like all the stories, none of them are boring. It's always something big that's going on that they're dealing with. And Agent Brand from Swords in it a lot. I always like
things
Agent with her. And it is the best, like I said, the best X-Men dedicated book right now. But you should go back to issue 1, read it all because it's about to be done right now. There's a big arc. It's kind of like the two schools going at war because about halfway through, the Brotherhood gets their school finished and they basically start stealing some of the kids from Kitty's school, and they kind of have this big war almost.
Yeah, I was going to say, on the whole fact this is coming to a close, it's Marvel trying to close all the pre-Marvel now.
Right, they want everything to be Marvel now.
Yeah.
I'm scared for Venom.
Yeah, there's no way. Venom sells way too well for them to...
The best X-Men related book on the shelves is by far X Factor. Has anybody else read X Factor?
Well, you
no!
Go for it.
Have you read Wolverine the X-Men?
What? No, I need to, though.
Okay.
No, I want to read that.
Have you read X Factor?
No.
Okay, I won't spoil stuff. Have you? Either of you guys read it?
No.
Oh, you guys seriously have to read it.
Apparently it's the best.
It really
No,
is.
I have to.
It really is. If you read it,
I thought
you'll
you were
see.
going to say Uncanny Avengers.
I wasn't considering that an X-Men book.
You know,
it really is.
The end of this last issue, and I won't ruin anything, but I mean, we were talking about a tie-in between the universes, and I think, I don't know how it became this way, but it seems to be a pivotal story arc for the whole universe, because they've already hinted at the Red Threat.
They blatantly said, like, something is coming.
Yeah, so I mean, and you know, we know what happened to Xavier when he was introduced evil into his heart, and then now the Red Threat.
I like Uncanny Avengers a lot because it brings a lot of characters in that conflict really well, and they write them well when they conflict. Like, I love I'm starting to love Havoc. Like, I didn't have very good.
I've always loved Havoc since
Havoc's amazing.
I've never known much
is one
about
of my
him.
favorite books.
I love him in Age of Apocalypse.
Oh yeah.
I'm liking the Apocalypse Twins because, like, even though they're cut and dry villains to a point, they're very gray because they're doing everything they do for a reason. Yeah, and I like that. In comics, you typically get, I'm a bad guy because I'm a bad guy. But it's nice to get a villain once in a while who you have to sit and wonder, do I agree with them?
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of cool things with them. Like, they're appeasing Kang. They introduce, like, a really cool Asgardian weapon. I mean,
and that ties into Thor: God of Thunder a little bit too.
you've got Rogue and Scarlet Witch's interaction, which are brilliant. And then, like I was saying, Mutant X and Old School.
I like Rogue and Thor's interaction, actually. Where
Yeah.
Thor's taking, like, this big brother role to Rogue.
Absolutely, and there's just so many great things about it. I agree.
I like it. It's not my favorite Avengers or X-Men book.
Also a Rick Remender book.
But it's been getting better. I feel like it's been getting better as it goes on.
Getting better.
And the team is a very, like, cool, like, it seems thrown together, but really
it's not.
It's well thought out.
He's writing them really well.
Well,
too.
and in Wolverine the X-Men, the set Havoc has Avengers.
Yeah.
So I cannot wait to build my
Uncanny Avengers.
Uncanny Avenger team.
And then the other thing that I like is Wonder Man shows up in it. Which you don't really get it. I haven't really seen much of him. Like, I haven't read a lot of older stuff.
That's by his choice, too, which is pretty nuts. I mean,
he's a character that I want to know more about.
Yeah.
And it's nice to get those doses. And you get some Celestial stuff in there, too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because you have the whole, since they're the kids of Apocalypse, of course.
They do the Celestial stuff. They have the new 4 Horsemen of Death.
Oh,
which,
buddy.
If you haven't seen by now...
Don't spoil that one. Just let them get to it.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
The choices of them are great.
It really is. The villains have been spectacular. The Red Skull with the brain of Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
Horrifying idea.
I mean, come on.
I thought they were going to take that and run with it. I thought it would end up being like a big...
It's just in the background right now.
Okay.
When a great villain sees a little bit of opposition, draws back, let him get a little comfortable, and he comes back.
Yeah. And we need more Red Skull stuff. It's been a while since he's been a main kind of focus on a
give
book.
him some Xavier level powers.
Oh my god.
And he's a clone of Red Skull.
I think so.
Yeah, he's like a clone.
But, like, what I like about it is towards the beginning, like, it plays off the typical X-Men themes of everyone hating on mutants.
Mm-hmm.
And the main, like, without really spoiling it, the main core of it is Red Skull it starts out Red Skull inciting anti-mutant violence.
Yep.
Like, that's his thing, is to form this wedge between the Avengers and X-Men that plays in the post-AVX world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting how it's just not, it's weird to see how it affects all the characters and how they respond to each other. I'm big on character development, and I far like they did a good job with it so far. It's my favorite X-Men book right now, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Cap's following Havoc.
Yeah.
I I'm glad you guys brought it up because I hadn't even really considered it an X-Men book, but I guess it does. It's kind of half and half.
It is like, well, I'd say it's almost more of an X-Men book than an Avengers book, even because it's just like it's like an X-Men book featuring Captain Thor.
Captain Thor.
Well,
Scarlet Witch as well, because she's a straight up
and Wasp.
And
in her old school weird ass costume.
On back to X Factor, I don't want to get into the details too much.
Yeah, I want to read that.
But it's a very different setting than all the other X-Men books. It's a detective agency. They're off in their own kind of little world. Not literally, but they're not really. You don't get a lot of cameos from the X-Men, and it's their own focused storyline. The art is perfect. The writing is perfect. The story arcs are kind of. They're not major like freaking apocalypse is going to destroy the world type stuff. It's just focused things that are just really well written. The character development is excellent, and almost all of basically the entire core team got clixed in the Wolverine X-Men set, and I couldn't be happier about it. Literally every one of them except Pip, pretty much. And Pip's not really on the team. He's kind of like just hangs out and
advisor kind of role or what?
Well, basically he just throws in a quip here and there, and he's not in it a whole lot. But
Infinity Watch.
Pip is except he's way cooler in this. Like he has a beard and he's basically like a drunk. He's basically Gimli, I guess. Like he throws in nice little gems here and there. But there is this one issue which really shows you like kind of like what he does like in the
downtime.
Yeah, like what he's doing behind the scenes, and it's really entertaining. But I can't recommend that book not only as to X-Men fans, but just just a great book. I picked it up at the .1 issue like 3.5 years back, and got all the way caught up. And it actually supposedly is about to end as well. Or at least that's the rumor. So maybe they're going to be closing that down and rebooting it with Marvel now too. Hopefully they keep the same creative team because they really have something special going.
This is M and
yes,
cool. She's a great character.
It starts off with.
I've never read anything with her.
It starts off with Madrox, M, Layla, Banshee, Shatterstar, Richter. Longshot's beyond awesome, and
he's okay.
And Strong Guy.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And I feel like there's maybe one or two other ones, but anyways, kind of halfway through, Polaris and Havoc come back from the whole Realm of Kings. They're in space with the Starjammers, and they come back down. And then Havoc used to be the leader, but now it's Madrox, so there's this whole, like, who's going to be the leader type thing, and it's real interesting.
Pretty good.
But it is a great, great book. I can't recommend it highly enough. And like I said, I hope if they do redo it, that they keep the same creative team. And M, that's who I was forgetting. And Wolfsbane.
Yeah, she's a classic.
Wolfsbane and her son.
It's a pretty large team,
and Darwin is in it, too, which Darwin's awesome.
Yeah, I know who Darwin is. I'm just saying.
He's in and out of it from, here and there, but that is God, you guys got to read that book. So
I think a story like that, it does sound really interesting. I really hope it does come back.
There's no way. Like it's been running so long, they're going to do something.
Yeah, it's on like what issue? Like
either they'll make a new team, 300 characters, or something.
Yeah.
I hope we don't lose M. I mean,
M is. Never mind. I can't say anything.
Have you read the?
I was about to spoil something.
No, spoil it.
No,
have you read the more recent run of Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah, I own like the first, I think, 4 of it.
She makes a showing in that, and like I really like. I forgot.
I remember.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Really. Actually, I might have read the whole thing.
Really,
I need to read the old Age of Apocalypse still.
He really needs.
You haven't read it?
I haven't read the old stuff.
It's probably my favorite
because their hair is the whole panel.
Dude.
Joe Madureira did the Astonishing X-Men for it.
Oh, I love Madureira.
So, and then you've got, Roger Cruz is doing stuff, and the Kubert brothers.
I plan on going back to read it, especially now that I've read the more recent stuff.
It's probably one of the best runs of all time.
Yeah. It was the most hyped up run, that's for sure. I think it's great. Yeah, I do.
I need to read it.
You guys need to get Marvel Unlimited. I'm telling you, it's Netflix for comic books.
Seriously?
It's $10
we'll discuss this later.
Okay.
The art team is
unless they're going to sponsor us.
The main writer is Peter David, and it looks like he's been writing it for years and years and years. If a good jumping on point is 224.1 of X Factor, if anybody wants to jump on, that's the one I would recommend. And all the point ones actually for
I
Marvel,
have
like
all these.
that's kind of what they do is they make it
See,
a good jump on.
I got into X Factor because of Age of Apocalypse because I read the prequels with Legion Quest and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Strong Guys being this 90s horrible reference.
Yeah, he was ridiculous.
Machine.
There's some big stuff popping with Strong Guy, which I accidentally spoiled to you at one day in the truck. But
It's sobbing. You called me.
it's a good read.
I don't know how I
So let's move from a positive note to a negative note and talk about Cable and X-Force.
Oh, that makes me sad because that's one I'm really looking forward to reading.
Is it bad?
Hey,
I
you haven't read it yet?
I haven't picked it up.
Have you read it?
No.
Okay, it's not that good.
Okay.
The art's really good, and the team is really good. It's Cable and Forge, Dr. Nemesis,
Okay.
Colossus
I
for
was gonna
most
say,
of
like,
it.
all the characters in it sound like characters I'd love to have together on a team.
It is getting better.
I thought one was doing
Where,
that team.
whereas a lot of these books we've been talking about had started off decent and got worse, I feel like this one started off bad and is getting slightly better because now Hope is more of the main focus too,
That's nice.
and it's explaining what's been going on this whole time. It is getting better. So I guess if you really like Cable, then those characters,
I
then
like
pick it
Forge, I like Cable, I love Colossus. Those three characters alone could sell me on a
up. Forge and Dr. Nemesis are hilarious together,
I bet.
and I love Dr. Nemesis
Oh,
too.
can I ask a HeroClix question? On the real name on Forge, it says unknown, but I feel like they've revealed his origins in the past. Am I
I
completely wrong?
don't
on that?
think I've ever heard him called anything besides Forge.
Forge. Okay.
But that's why Wikipedia exists, Phil. Let's look and see what Forge
No, it's
says.
why
Wait a
Marvel
second.
Wiki exists.
Forge, to heat metals. No.
Hint disambiguation. Or that.
Let's move real quick while I'm looking up Forge. Let's talk about Gambit.
The one comic I haven't read.
You haven't read Gambit?
I still haven't picked up Gambit. Because I always forget it exists.
You have a poster of him on your wall,
like posing in
half
lingerie.
nude.
Oh jeez.
Gambit is actually it's not quite bad enough to be a guilty pleasure book, but it's not it's very enjoyable.
So
You'll
it's
love
my
it.
kind of book,
You
then.
will love it.
Because I like those like lowbrow, almost like guilty pleasure
Gambit
type
is about
books.
as low brow as it gets.
It's not. It's not.
Shut your mouth, Phil.
I'm just saying, it's a low eyebrow.
It's not perfectly written. It's not perfectly written. The art is pretty good, and it kind of jumps around from storyline to storyline. But the characters development's good, and the storylines are short but enjoyable, and
Okay.
you will definitely
If-
like it.
It definitely sounds like something.
Supposedly, it's getting canceled soon, so pick it up.
Well, once again, it was a pre-Marvel now.
Pre-Marvel now, yeah.
Supposedly. It's
Well, we haven't seen much of Gambit now that I think about it. He hasn't really shown up in other books as
Good.
Marvel now.
Forge was created by Chris
he's not-
Claremont and
The
J.R.J.R.
wordsmith, Chris Claremont.
And he does not have a real name on here. It should be over here on the right side, and I don't see it.
It's
So
just Forge.
They may
Alias
not
the
have.
Maker. Genius.
They may not have ever revealed his name.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the most interesting characters. We talked
yeah.
about it after Clix the other night, and
What if he's a time traveler?
he's not.
He's not a time.
He's a shaman.
So to wrap the comic section up, let's say if you could only recommend 3 X-Men books for people to pick up, what would be your 3?
That's a lot for
I got
me.
mine.
Let's
Go ahead.
Phil then.
All new X-Men, because of the artwork and the story is interesting. Uncanny Avengers, because I'm going to throw it in there anyways. And from what you told me about X Factor, the whole detective thing seems really cool.
And the character list seems good.
Yeah, and the character list, yeah. Totally forgot about M.
Another quick thing I forgot to mention about X Factor is it deals in mystical stuff a lot too, which you in the X-Men universe you don't get a whole lot of. You get some cosmic stuff, but you don't get mystical a lot.
We got a little bit of it in Uncanny X-Men, like with magic going to limbo and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
which
sure.
is interesting, but it wasn't enough to like.
You mean being in charge of Limbo?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dormammu. I always
And
love
training with
Dormammu.
Doctor Strange in a different
I
realm.
love Dormammu showing up in anything. Like
Yeah, he's good.
Especially when he's all emo about stuff.
Austin and Drew, what do you like?
3 ongoing.
Yes, current X-Men books.
Okay. I'm going to go with Uncanny X-Men because it's interesting. I think it's going to go places eventually. It's just taking its time getting there. Uncanny Avengers is my big one. I would recommend that book in a heartbeat.
I agree.
It starts out like for people like me who weren't big in the X-Men world. It was a big jumping in point for me. But when you get into it, it's good. I love the characters. It's written well. And then I don't really know what the third one I'd recommend. It probably Wolverine and the X-Men. Like as I said, it's goofy at times, but it's serious and it's an entertaining. Like I don't feel like I wasted time reading it at all. Like I enjoy it. it's just a good book.
Drew, you got anything you like especially?
The thing is, I haven't read a whole lot of X-Men books.
Have you read Uncanny Avengers?
I read the first couple issues. That's a good book. You should read that. Apparently X Factor's good. I mean, it's got a strong guy in it, so I like it.
Drew's just going to follow up on the best suggestions from us three.
There's nothing wrong with it.
You know what? Go read Cable and the X-Force and tell me how bad it is.
It's not horrible. I just coming off of X Factor. Okay, I'm gonna say Wolverine and the X-Men is the best X-Men based book.
Factor.
I'm gonna give you 3.
Oh, duh, normal X-Men. I forgot about that.
We said that, the girls one.
No, I was going to say that was my third one.
I'm gonna give you 3 that give you kind of a look at each facet. Uncanny Avengers gonna give you the whole current relations with the humans versus mutants.
Sure.
And it's like I said, excellent book. Then Wolverine and the X-Men, so that you get your classic character fixes, and then X Factor because it's by far the best overall book, and you're still getting the cool X-Men characters.
Minus Phantom X.
That guy.
I hate that Phantom X guy.
Well, Phantom X isn't Phantom X right now is what sucks. He's split. Get him back together.
I would like to say, the one thing that's going on with X-Men that I'm noticing right now...
It is cool. I mean, it's cool but awkward having Cluster and freaking Agent X and Phantom X, all those...
what I was going to say that's kind of you kind of see a little bit and it confuses some of the newer X-Men readers like me. There's multiple generations of X-Men, kind of. So, you have the original groups, and then, there's a second gen, which is... Of course, a lot of them that were added. But, with Brew and all them, they were, the last newly added generation.
Right.
And then Uncanny X-Men and Wolverine both now are kind of adding... they're kind of bringing in this current Marvel Now's new stuff.
Yeah, there's a Wikipedia article about that. You go look at... Yeah,
there's a whole...
That's awesome.
They have a table that says, hey, first generation...
That's cool.
Yeah, that is actually really good info.
Because 5, and then you've got, the... Krakatoa story arc with all the new ones. Yep. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Wolverine and the X-Men, the school is on Krakoa, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is actually
so awesome.
on Krakoa, isn't it?
Well, it's on one of Krakoa's kids.
I read the first issue, and I was like, it's on Krakoa.
Doesn't it turn out it's a mutant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I mean, it's its own... Just like Krakoa is its own, entity. And now with the last current run, with the big war, you find out more about Krakoa.
Cool.
I read something that had,
I'll have to check out that book.
Exodus and Black Bart and stuff attacking one of the schools.
That's in Legacy at the beginning.
Okay, so I did start Legacy then. I just didn't.
It's the second arc. That's when it starts going downhill. Is with that.
Going back to the Click thing, I'm so happy Exodus got clicked.
Yeah,
I was very happy with their choices overall. They didn't redo a lot of pieces, really. They gave a good mix of things. Plus, like I said, all the X Factor clicks needed to be run besides Madrix, and they did them all.
I love Exodus as a character, and the thing I really liked about that Exodus click, he was simple, actually. When you look at his dial and his abilities, there's nothing, super, super fancy. It's just straightforward. And, I was really hoping for some more Acolyte stuff. I wanted more Marauders, but...
One of the best conversations I had with a Clix player was talking about how he was one of Magneto's first disciples.
Yeah.
And then he says, that's why that power's named that. You know what I mean? Not ever reading the comics or anything. Just playing Clix out of pure pleasure.
That's enough X-Men.
Oh.
We've had such a big fill of X-Men with the set.
A big fill.
With I lost 3 pounds.
With our seals and with our everybody talking and trading.
If I hear the letter X one more time.
Real quick, let's do anybody playing any new games besides Ascension, which we're about to play right now, which is awesome. By the way, I played it on my phone.
Ascension, so you did sit down and play it?
Yeah, it's freaking sweet.
Ascension on the phone. Ascension period's great, but I picked up the new Smash Up expansion at Gen Con. The obligatory Cthulhu set, and if you haven't played Smash Up, it's very fast. I think it's 2 to 4 players.
Is it another deck building game, or
no? You actually take just 2 mini decks. You smash them up with 2 genres like aliens and robots, or
that sounds awesome.
Knights and fairies. Leprechauns, and I mean it's all over the place.
Leprechauns and Cthulhu.
Flowers and Cthulhu. You can shuffle them all up, and then you play at locations, and you're trying to score the location before other people do, and the first people of 15 win.
That's pretty
cool.
Sweet.
It's awesome. It's a very good game.
I've been playing Don't Starve. I finally picked it up. I had seen it on Steam a lot, and it's been a well-reviewed game and stuff like that. Aaron had picked it up and started playing it, and I was watching him. I was like, it's a fun game. If you're into like the survival type of games where you're trying to like gather supplies, build a camp, and stay alive, it's an enjoyable game, and it's cheap because it's an indie game. You can pick it up, I think, $10-15, whatever. You definitely get your money's worth out of it. It's got unlockable characters if you survive so many days into the game. It's fun, and the art style is really like, at first it was kind of like off-putting, because it's very like a gothic sketchbook kind of, but you really get into it, and I like it, and it's got an interesting world, interesting story and stuff. I'd recommend that. Have you played it?
Drew? I've played it. It's pretty good. Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn launched this week.
I'm not touching it.
So, I don't really care what you think.
I love Square Enix.
How was FF?
Okay, let me start this off by saying it's a good game, but WizKids must have sent over some guys to Square Enix to fuck up this launch so badly that I don't understand like how you could possibly screw up a launch.
Do you not remember the FF13 mislaunch or whatever?
Or the SimCity one?
Oh, you mean the fact that game was shit as
it is? It was horrible.
It was kind of bad.
No, it was the worst game I've ever played. But this game is
huge waste
good.
of time.
It has.
No, we were talking about SimCity over here.
Oh, sorry.
It has good ideas. It puts them together. It's a good game. But if I could play it, I'd be happy.
My big problem with the FF MMOs, though, are usually they're really custom tailored to the Asian market. And Asian players like a completely different flavor of things than we typically do as Americans in MMOs.
Let me tell you the biggest problem with this game right now.
Grind?
No. The grind's fine.
Okay.
I personally don't mind grind. I'm a huge fan of the Persona games. I enjoy...
Oh god, I love Persona.
I love anything Shin Megami Tensei, so I don't mind grinding. This game has a lot of stuff you can put your time into. You can pick any class you want to play and only have one character. It's good stuff like that I really like. But the servers are terrible. They did not expect to get as many people as they got.
And
for
they're
the
probably
launch.
Positioned in Japan, so it's making it even worse.
The server... no, that's the problem.
Radioactive poisoning.
Yeah.
The Japanese have doubled the servers we have.
The servers are alive.
The Japanese have doubled the servers we have. So, like, our servers are down half the time and we can't even play on them while they're over there having a blast.
Posting screenshots and videos.
Yeah.
Salt in the wounds.
Hiking up the auction houses.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's a fun game. I like it, but I can't wait to get to in-game because I love in-game MMOs.
On the subject of MMOs, though, have you been watching stuff on EverQuest Next yet?
Yeah, it looks really good.
Oh my gosh, me and Aaron watched all the keynotes and everything for that. I'm so excited for that.
I'm a big EverQuest fan. I've played a lot of vanilla EverQuest.
And it's defined our current decade of MMOs. The original.
It is the MMO.
Yeah, and then this next one that's rolling in is going to be. They're setting it up so well, and then they're doing Landmark, which is their big system. It's a mini MMO that's coming out before EverQuest, and the way it works is you make a character, but you go collect resources, and you literally build a part of the world, and then you can sell those plots to people and stuff like that. And the developers have said they're going to take cool things that people build and introduce them into the actual world when they design the entire world of EverQuest.
Yep.
When the actual game comes out, which is sweet to put that kind of power in player hands. It takes a lot for developers to do that, but it's got a cool class system and all that stuff.
Speaking of MMOs, I'm going to go flashback to the best MMO of all time, World of Warcraft. The most successful one as well. But
It is that for like 8 years.
Cryptozoic and Blizzard, they are breaking licensure. The TCG is now dead. It's official.
No.
The WoW TCG is dead. So the whole thing about that was Blizzard said in the game Hearthstone they weren't going to have loot cards and in-game content as long as it was in the actual trading card game.
Yeah, the trading card game's dead. They're going to do that with Hearthstone.
So they just didn't they didn't renew. They dropped it, and that's why Cryptozoic's doing Hex, and then Hearthstone's going on.
Hex looks fun.
Yeah, Hex does.
It's unfortunate, though. I mean, the interactions with people, I love sitting across from my opponents and playing games. That's why I love HeroClix, and we're losing another game that can play in public.
The big problem with the WoW TCG, Upper Deck really dropped the ball on that one, and Blizzard dropped the ball on Upper Deck.
Though. I mean, Cryptozoic worked so hard to revive that.
Yeah.
Blizzard gave them the tools to do it with the in-game content and stuff like that. They worked together to build an amazing game, and unfortunately, they're just recycling a lot of artwork, and it's just nuts.
Speaking of Final Fantasy, I cannot wait for FFX HD to come out. Although it's a Square Enix,
I can't even begin to. We're not going to hear about it till like the week it comes out, and then
it's coming out on Vita, so I'll literally get nothing done at work for God knows how long.
It's going to have shared games between your PS3 and your Vita.
That's what I'm saying. Like I can play it and then come home and play all night, and then go to work and play all day, and then come home.
Awesome, Phil. The ability to like take your save game from your home console to your handheld and then continue playing it while you're on the road.
My job, it sucks.
Yeah.
Sony's the best. Sony's the best.
Sony's great.
I've also been playing Saints Row, or as I like to call it, Crackdown Saints Row Edition. Saints Row 4, it started off very meh, and then you get to the president part, and it gives you all these cool, hilarious choices, and Terry Crews is like your Secretary of State, and Keith David's like it's like Vice President Keith David. And and like there's all this funny stuff, and then the gameplay is kind of like this is the same as the third one.
Oh,
the graphics are a little bit almost feels worse than the last one. And then I was about to stop playing it and start playing Madden, and then I got the powers and the aliens showed up, and I get aliens to kill, and then you get powers just like Crackdown, like you're leaping from building to building and gliding, and you get like these like superhero abilities like super speed, and like you can like upgrade like where you can run up buildings, like you feel like the Flash, and like it's just crazy, and you get like ice breath and shit like that. Like it's really cool. It's fun.
When I first saw Saints Row the Third, like I always thought it was like a Grand Theft Auto ripoff because that's what the first and second game really were. But then like you pick up, I watched you play through part of the first one, like the opening scene or whatever. Sold. I went home and bought that game on Steam.
Oh, on Saints Row 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opening moments on 3, I don't know if either of you two have played.
I played the third.
Oh my gosh, just go watch a YouTube video of the opening scene.
The third's a masterpiece.
It'll sell you.
The fourth one has a cool opening scene.
I would highly recommend, like, that's one game you could throw your $10 at on Steam, because that's probably what it's down to on there right now, and you would easily get your money's worth. It's so damn funny. Burt Reynolds is the mayor of the damn city, and it's actually him voicing it.
It's him killing zombies too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm liking 4 so far. It's not amazing, but it is a really fun, like you just can't stop.
And
playing like fun game.
It's not like super in depth or super deep or anything. It's just one of those games that you kick back, you pick up the controller, and you go run around and blow shit up for a few hours, and I love it.
Follow us on Twitter, Dial H For Heroclix. We've all 3 been on. Phil's started it and started doing a lot of work, and Austin I have been on there when we can.
Arguing with everybody.
Everybody does it. You guys have so much time for it.
Like our Twitter handle is Dial H For, the number 4 Heroclix. Yep. Like us on Facebook, Dial H For Heroclix spelled out. And email us questions.
Oh yeah, we do have an Instagram.
I keep our Instagram updated, but every time I make a post there, I put it on our Twitter anyway. So if you're on our Twitter, you'll have our Instagram.
Is there a social media hub program that'll have all those on there?
We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
You can email us questions. You can answer the community question. Or you can submit things to the Best Build Contest or Dial Design Contest by emailing us at dialhforheroclix@gmail.com. That's going to wrap up this episode. It ended up, we got a pretty efficient little episode there.
I was going to say, for how much info
4 guys we got done in 2 hours. It's pretty good.
And now we're going to go play Ascension and HeroClix.
We'll see you guys next week.
Now we're done.